I'm Evan Lazar. Lazar. Hello, everybody. Nailed it. Joined as always by Alex Barth. That's a fit. That's a match. No risk it, no biscuit.
22.
Here is Evan Lazar and Alex Barth.
Are the players on the roster around Josh Allen that special, or are they going to continue to get hit with regression?
Okay, but here's the problem. What's regression to them?
What's regression to them? They went from 13 wins last year to 12.
Right.
Let's call it 11.
Okay, so they're still an 11-win team?
And you're willing to guarantee that 2 of those are against the Patriots?
I didn't guarantee. You're saying guarantee. I never said guarantee. The probability is they still split.
But you're acting
Barth
like the Bills are... You're talking about the Bills. It's fine. There's nothing to see here. Return to your homes. The Buffalo Bills are as good as ever. But with the New England Patriots who just went to the Super Bowl, well, I have some real questions. They have some real questions from this offseason that they need to answer. All I'm saying is it's one or the other. I think they both have questions.
22.
How many questions do the Patriots have now, Alex? What are you going to say now?
Significant smaller one for sure.
What are they going to say now? Well, this is an exciting day because it's June 3rd. Typically, guys, Ace Behind the Glass, Alex Barth, Evan Lazar, Catch-22 with you for the next couple of hours. Typically, guys, this is the dead doldrums of the offseason, right? Like this is when the NFL calendar is dead. There isn't much going on. And now maybe the NFL, as it does, just created a new news day, which is going to now be the June 1st trades. Because not only did A.J. Brown get traded to the Patriots,
they created a trade deadline in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, just out of thin air, the NFL has now created another news cycle and another trade deadline as it does. So A.J. Brown to the Patriots, that's the news that we're going to focus on here today. Obviously, from a Patriots perspective, the other trade, of course, in the NFL, another blockbuster with Myles Garrett going to the Los Angeles Rams. Potentially getting a little ahead of myself, but Rams, Patriots in LA, Super Bowl.
A whole week of this whole Super Bowl, the build up to this, the whole build up to this Super Bowl started on June 1st when both teams swung blockbuster trades.
Can you imagine? Just for me personally, you know how much I love the city of Los Angeles, to have the Patriots and the Rams, 2 of my favorite teams in the league, in my city of Los Angeles, in the Super Bowl. I mean, come on.
On your wife's birthday.
It
would be the Lazar Bowl.
That part of it, I'm not sure is really a positive. That seems to be a negative in my household, as you can imagine. But we're going to talk A.J. Brown. We're going to talk OTAs. Alex and I were both out there yesterday for the Patriots' second open OTA to the media. So we got a lot to talk about, man. I mean, there's a lot going on for a June 3rd. I want to start A.J. Brown, obviously. We haven't been on the air since the trade. So there's a million different ways that we can talk about A.J. Brown, and I want to talk about A.J. Brown. There's the big picture of the philosophy, which we're big on this show. Big philosophy, team-building show. Then there's his role and what we kind of see projecting moving forward. Then there's the domino effect of the wide receiver room and the hierarchy of the wide receiver room and who makes the roster on the back end of the roster, the future for a guy like Kayshon Boutte, which we'll get to. And then, of course, because it can't all be good news, they have to slide in a little bit of a bummer with Julian Hill going on injured reserve and Mike Vrabel yesterday confirming in his press conference that Julian Hill's done for the year. So as great as it Monday was at 4:20 or whatever it was when they broke this news, obviously there's a little bit of bad news there with the Julian Hill injury. The place I wanted to start, though, is I want to go big and then I want to zoom in on A.J. Brown. Alex, I just don't know how you could be disappointed or mad or quibble with a team that's going for it, and that is as aggressive as the Patriots have been over the last, let's call it, calendar year since they hired Mike Vrabel, both from hiring Mike Vrabel and bringing back Josh McDaniels to the way that they handled both free agency periods and now this trade. I absolutely love the aggressiveness. This is the time to do it. This is, not to go back and rehash or redelegate the Mac Jones era with the Patriots, but longtime listeners of this show, from its roots, its origin, we had a lot of discussions on this show, Alex, about how the Patriots didn't do enough for Mac Jones. And I'm not, this is not about Mac Jones. I'm getting to a bigger point here, but we talked about multiple times the supporting cast around Mac Jones, the infrastructure, the coaching, all of those elements of supporting and nurturing a young quarterback. Now, Drake May is much more physically talented than Mac Jones. And maybe Mac Jones's physical traits never would have gotten him to the point where Drake May is heading or maybe is already at. But the point is, to me, is when you have a quarterback who's ascending on a rookie contract in this window, we continued to beat the drum that this was the time to go for it. This was the time to go for it. With Mac Jones, it was Devontae Parker's, it was Juju Smith-Schuster's, it was different offensive coordinators. They didn't do it right. And to their credit, and they deserve credit, not only, really, I would say all kind of levels of the organization. You know, ownership deserves credit for bankrolling this.
Yeah.
The general manager, Elliot Wolf, and the personnel side deserve credit for getting all these deals done and making these trades happen. And Mike Vrabel deserves credit for, I think, putting his finger on the scale a little bit in some of these directions with these players.
And I would say, too, making it an environment that players wanted to come to and making it a destination.
Good point. So all of those things, to me, I think everybody deserves their flowers for all those different elements of this. But what I just keep coming back to is two things. One, this is how you build around a young quarterback.
Yep.
This is going to make Drake May a star. Like, he's already an MVP candidate last year. And they went out and I think they upgraded pretty much everywhere around him, even more significantly around him. This is how you do it. This is the blueprint. And Elliot Wolf was here when they went through Mac Jones. He wasn't in this exact role that he is in now as one of the primary decision makers with the roster, but he was here, and I have to imagine that he saw what happened with Mac Jones and said, we're not going to repeat that same mistake again, and they're doing it right this time. I just think that you have to really appreciate the aggressiveness to pursue talent, whether it's in free agency, whether it's via trade, even in the draft when they traded up twice in the first and the second round to get the guys that they wanted in the draft.
To get two premium positions.
This is what you want to see from a team that has a quarterback that for the time being is affordable and on a rookie contract. Now, Elliot Wolf's given some quotes. I think it was to Jory Epstein of Yahoo Sports that this probably isn't sustainable for them to spend like this and for them to be this aggressive in the veteran market. But at least for the time being with Drake May on that cost-controlled contract, they have the flexibility and the ability to do it. So I think they deserve credit for what I think so far, at least, is getting it right this time around for their young quarterback. This is only going to make Drake May better, and in turn, obviously, that makes the team better.
Yeah, and look, you mentioned it's not sustainable, which I think is true, but if there's a time to do it, it's the young quarterback on the rookie contract and try to maximize that window. It might be the rarest spot to be in football, because even if you have a great quarterback, right, to capitalize on this, okay, so you have him on a rookie contract, odds are he's going to be here another 10 years after it.
Right.
And then you got to hit on the quarterback again. So this is something that comes along maybe every couple decades, maybe every other decade if you're lucky, for like 3 to 4 years. Because it doesn't even start right away because the guy's got to prove he's worth it first.
Yeah.
So how many years have we talked about this window, this rookie contract quarterback window, and they're in it and they're capitalizing on it. And this probably isn't going to be the way it's always going to be under Vrabel, but they have probably one more offseason of doing this, and you get, if they can get 2 Super Bowl appearances and a Super Bowl win out of it, home run, job done. So they're going for it. They're absolutely going for it.
Yeah,
and they should be. I mean, you look anywhere in the different odds, they're still like the 3rd or 4th favorite in the AFC. They're not even the favorite to win the division. And I know people have gotten annoyed how much we've bickered about that the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, well,
I will just say,
we'll try not to this today, but I can't make any promises.
Should they be the AFC favorite after that trade? I think so.
So that was something that I was thinking about.
They won the conference. I'll put it very simply. They won the conference last year.
Yeah.
Has anybody in the conference done more to improve their team this year than them?
I guess, the Broncos did trade for Jalen Waddle, which is a big move.
Who's a better player?
Waddle's younger.
Who's a better player right now? We're talking about getting to the Super Bowl.
I think A.J. Brown's a better player.
Okay.
But I think that, part of the problem.
And just to clarify, like
No,
obviously, like the Raiders and Titans did a ton. The gap was wider. I'm talking about
Sure.
of the other contenders. Has anybody done more to get better
Right.
than the
I mean,
Patriots?
the Chiefs had Kenneth Walker, which is a nice move, but they haven't really done enough, in my opinion.
They also have a quarterback coming off torn ACL.
And we're behind.
Yeah.
They were 6-8 when Mahomes got hurt. I think you brought that up last week. So,
Yep.
They were behind Buffalo. We don't have to, re-argue that point, but you can make arguments that they have maybe even declined, especially on defense, I would say. I try to take my Patriots footy pajamas off when I have these types of
What
conversations.
Patriots footy pajamas?
Well, team employee. I try to take my footy pajamas off when I have these conversations about, are they the best team in the AFC? Are they a Super Bowl perennial Super Bowl favorite? Maybe that's strong because the Rams, I think right now, are runaway Super Bowl favorites at this point. Maybe with Seattle a little bit behind them. But I look across the landscape of the AFC, and I really genuinely do feel like they are the best roster in the conference. Now, is there a chance that Drake May regresses a little bit and that evens the playing field with a team like Denver? Because I think the gap, as you know, between Bo Nix and Drake May is substantial.
It is significant.
So if you have the better quarterback, I'm going to give the edge to the team. If we consider the rest of the rosters with the Broncos and the Patriots kind of equal, I'm going to give the edge to the quarterback. I know a lot of people are really hot on Baltimore because they really like Jesse Minter and they think that that's going to reinvigorate that program. We'll see, but I think that team also has some holes in its roster in some places that it's aging, especially at the tight end position, losing Isaiah Likely and who knows what Mark Andrews got left.
Yeah.
And all that different kind of stuff. So I think the Patriots are right there. I think they have one of the best teams in the AFC. I was on with your favorite people in Buffalo yesterday, and they're worried. You can hear it. You can hear it in the questions that they're asking me. They're like, well, where's the weakness? Where's the flaw in this team? And I said, edge rusher, I think, is one spot that we're going to talk about later that probably needs some retooling and upgrade, a hit if Gabe Akis is a hit once he gets out there, hopefully. They hit on him as a pick. Depth just on the defense, I would say, like depth at linebacker, depth at safety, maybe even depth at cornerback, even though I'm not as hot on that as other people are. Obviously, like any other team, if Christian Gonzalez were to get hurt, if now that he's here, if AJ Brown were to get hurt, if the quarterback obviously were to get hurt, those are things that it's a house of cards.
I mean, injuries
right?
are always, there's always that qualifier.
But when you look at it on paper, I truly believe that if they're not the best team in the AFC on paper, they're close. They're really, really close.
Is anybody nobody's definitively better than them? Do you
That's a
feel
good way.
comfortable saying that?
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
And then we'll see. Like maybe there's one more move.
Yeah,
I'm not ruling out a player-for-player swap for Kayshon Boutte. And if they can get an edge rusher, the Giants might be looking to move on from Kayvon Thibodeau. And they're desperate at receiver.
I want to talk about Kayvon Thibodeau a little bit later because I watched some of his film this morning just in case. I don't know anything. I like to prep. I like to be ahead of things.
You watched Thibodeau's film?
Yes.
Did you go back? I'm saying.
I watched it from last year.
I'm curious what you think the difference was last year when he fell off versus like the previous year.
Oh, I didn't go that far back.
Okay.
I just watched his pressures from last year.
It's not even the draft, and I'm doing. Did you watch the 24?
No, I didn't. But we're getting off track here a little bit, but just a guy at 6'4", 255, like really fits their mold. 4-3 end like that. He really fits the description of what they've been looking for to a T at that position. That kind of Kayvon Chason, Harold Landry type of build. Let's get back on track though to AJ Brown. So that's big picture. The aggressiveness, the weaponizing, arming the offense around Drake May. I don't know how you can have any real major quibbles with that. I know there's a lot of conversations about who won the trade, the Eagles or the Patriots, and giving up the first round pick. I'm not losing much sleep over a 2028 first round pick. That's just how I feel about it. It's 2 years from now. There are a lot changes in the NFL in 2 years.
Personally, I am a little bit because what are we going to do that spring if they don't recoup it somehow?
That's fair. So you just mentioned the only thing that I would have like the smallest of seed concerns about is that they have put a lot of money into this roster.
Yeah.
Is there a shoe to drop where a player is going that makes a lot of money. And I don't think Gonzalez is the right player here because he's not making a lot of money yet.
Right. And it's a lot of short-term money. Like some of these guys come off the books.
Like Mike
Gonzalez
Onwenu took a pay cut. That was reported over the weekend, right, by Mike Reese. So that one hopefully has already been figured out. That was an expensive cap hit that they were able to get down, an expensive player that they were able to get to take a pay cut. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully this doesn't come out someplace else.
Right. Honestly, if there is one, and we're projecting way ahead here, it might be Campbell. If Campbell ends up being an average left tackle.
Well, that's well down the road. I was more thinking, Onwenu was obviously a prime candidate.
Short term?
And he, yeah.
Yeah, I was assuming they get Gonzalez's extension done, like, who is it? Do they move?
Like a Christian Barmore.
Yeah, but that's a position I kind of, and Barmer's a really good player, but that's a position I trust them to handle.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. All right, let's.
They also, sorry, just to add to that, they have some guy from the. They had to bring in a bunch of guys to set the floor last year, right? Veterans in free agency, and when you talk about guys like Harold Landry, like Robert Spillane, like Carlton Davis, Morgan Moses, you could put in this boat. Even some of the guys that were here, Ramondre Stevenson, they have a bunch of pending free agents next year. So my guess is it's not shipping guys out. It's just you're trusting your team to draft well, because a lot of those guys I just named, right? They drafted, I'd say besides corner, they drafted players at those positions the last 2 years to hopefully step up and fit those roles. This is draft and develop. You brought that first, and this is the difference between what they did and what the Gerard Mayo Patriots did the year before. The Gerard Mayo Patriots tried to draft and develop without having a floor set, and you can't do that. You need a baseline. We heard about, the Packers for years and years didn't spend in free agency. Okay, but that's because they'd been drafting so well for so long, they had that baseline set. Now that the baseline is set, you can move off from some of those guys, and the plan, you would think, is that you count on yourself to draft well, and you're just going to have this pipeline of guys coming up and taking those spots.
Yeah. So let's talk about A.J. Brown individually, zoom a little bit further in here on A.J. Brown. I want to discuss a couple of different things. First being some of the things that you see in terms of his production being slightly on the decline in certain areas. Obviously, the counting stats last year, just over 1,000 yards, 12.9 yards per catch, all that was down.
Yeah.
All the nerd stuff that I like, the under the hood stuff, was also down. Yards per route run, average yards after the catch per reception, some of the next gen, tracking data, all that different type of stuff would signal that maybe he's not quite down the field stretching receiver that he was earlier on in his career. Elliot Wolf was quoted by Jory Epstein saying that he's probably not as fast as he once was. With all that being said, his baseline of 1,000 yards is still there, which he clearly was
in less than a full season.
Yeah, last year with Philadelphia. There's some ways that I think that they can help him with scheme and with just different things that they can do with him for him to kind of age more gracefully than what he was doing in Philadelphia, that we can get to here in a second. But the easiest path forward just with A.J. Brown in a vacuum is just to take all the routes and targets that they were giving to Kayshon Boutte and give those to A.J.
Brown.
Give those to A.J. Brown. And then obviously, since we all kind of think he's a better player, that probably increases, right? The targets are going to increase, and hopefully the production will increase with that. But on the surface, putting him outside, obviously at the X if we want to do the whole letters thing, and giving him a vertical route tree like Kayshon Boutte's is at least for the first step of integrating him into the offense. I think that's where this is headed. Now there's steps, well beyond that I want to get to, but very first thing is learn the outside receiver, learn the X route tree, and just basically replace Kayshon Boutte and hopefully upgrade that spot from Kayshon Boutte. Yeah,
I mean, I think that's the plan. He can do a lot of the similar things like you said, and how much of the fall off stuff is do you think some of that was mental?
I think it was all
an element of him being disengaged, and from the reporting at the time was that he wasn't upset with the number of targets. I think he still had over 100 targets.
Yeah, it was 120 or something like that.
Okay, so well over 100.
Yeah.
It was the types of targets. And it makes sense as he's getting older, like he doesn't want to take more hits. He doesn't want to run these slants and drags and quick ins, and he wants to go deep. He wants to be a deep threat. And so if that's what you have him doing here, you're going to keep him engaged. That's what he should be doing here. That's what this offense dictates. You have Romeo Doubs to be the chain mover. You have Romeo Doubs in the Julian Edelman role. So, I think that the key to unlocking him is to using him more vertically.
So I actually, maybe we disagree on that slightly. So I think that with the Eagles, what ended up happening with him and how I think that they can sort of, I said age gracefully. I think that's a great way of putting it. I think Matt Harmon was the first one I saw put it that way. The Eagles really played him a lot. Obviously on the outside, 88% of his snaps were at outside receiver, but it was a lot of hitches, goes, and then, slants, really. Like those three routes were made up something like over 65% of his targets the last year. So a lot of it was done also on the outside, but also in isolation. So like a lot of 3x1s and stuff like that, where he's the backside receiver. And basically, if he gets man-to-man or he gets singled on the backside, the ball would funnel to his direction. But with that, that's not really helping out the guy a whole lot with scheme. Like it's not really devising creative ways from an X's and O's standpoint to get him off the line of scrimmage, to get him separated, to get him into the open field as a ball carrier, like we saw earlier on in his career. So the question is, if they aid him more with scheme and with alignment and things like that, the number I mentioned about his yards per catch after the catch average, the decrease that they've seen in that year over year, how much of that was the nature of the targets that he's getting? Like think about it, when he's getting down the field targets on go balls at catch point stuff where he's just getting thrown 50-50 balls, he's getting thrown hitches, and then the occasional under or slant route on the backside of the formation. Like you're not really creating space for him to run. Like you're not going to run with a jump ball. Like that's not normally how those types of things work. When he was in Tennessee, they targeted, obviously Tennessee was a heavy under center play action offense with Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry, AJ Brown on the outside. So looking at his last year in Tennessee, he had 22 catches for over 400 of his yards off of play action. His last year in Philadelphia, it was only 11 for 111. So not only did it not happen as frequently where he was getting targeted off of play action, but he also, his yards per catch went down.
Right.
And he was this like juggernaut, efficient, just really, really disruptive, productive play action threat in Tennessee, where they would run him on in-breakers, slants, crossing routes, digs, and they would just pull those linebackers up with play action, and they would just hit him on these, 5-step slant glance routes right behind the linebackers, and he's just got this whole runway to just kind of catch and run with the football and take off. When you look at some of these things like the next-gen tracking data, the yards after the catch per reception, like a lot of that is relative to the routes that he's being asked to run. So he saw more press coverage than any receiver in the league last year. If you have a guy in your face and you're getting pressed, like the odds of you hitting like a really high top speed on that route is not very high. Versus if you're seeing off coverage and you have a play action and you're running a slant behind the linebackers and now you're catching it and you're taking off over the middle of the field, like that's obviously going to get you up to top speed a lot faster than getting off press, releasing, getting up the sideline and getting up to top speed. So you look at the play action stuff, I think that's step one. The Patriots are going to be a lot more of an under center team than Philadelphia was with Jalen Hurts. They ran a spread offense, kind of a college style offense with RPOs and quarterback runs and stuff like that, where there wasn't a ton of scheme aided targets for AJ Brown. So that's step one. Step two, I think, is probably using him a little bit more inside. And I saw it just looking at the very limited sample size, but the 12% of the routes that he ran inside last year for Philly, he was highly productive on those routes. And I think that if you increase those a little bit more and you turn him into that prototypical power slot a little bit more, it's not going to be Stephon Diggs where he's doing it 51% of the time, 52% of the time, but maybe instead of 12% of the time, it's closer to what they were doing in Tennessee where it was like hovering around 30% of the time. So now, you whether it's Kayshon Boutte, who's still here, whether it's Kyle Williams, Mac Hollins, like maybe one of those guys plays on the outside some, and you have AJ Brown and Romeo Doubs working inside the formation, which would be classic Josh McDaniels, right? To put his
Right.
best playmakers inside the formation. So between the play action passes and increasing that in an offense that goes under center a lot more than Philadelphia's, and using him more out of the slot or as an inside receiver, I'm not saying that he's going to go back to being a 1,500-yard guy. I don't know if that guy is still quite in there like as it was in his early Philly days, like 2022, 2023 Philly. But does that take him from a 1,000-yard receiver to a 1,200-yard receiver, or a comfortable 1,000-yard receiver? Does that increase his yards after the catch? Does that go back up to what it was earlier on in his career? If those things can happen just by Josh McDaniels, frankly, just being a better offensive coordinator than Kevin Patullo, then I have a good feeling that his production is going to be just fine. And that doesn't even mention that I think Drake May is a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts.
Right.
So all these things add up to
Just
me.
a better situation.
It's a better situation. So hopefully all those things come to fruition, and who knows? Like maybe he could be back to being one of the most productive receivers in the league, just with a little bit of help from Josh McDaniels. Worst case scenario, 78 for 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns also isn't a bad season either, which is what he had last year in Philly.
I mean, I think anything less than 1,000 yards would be a disappointment, but I don't think he's going to be a volume guy. I think it's going to be I look at like 70 to 80 catches, 1,100 yards, I think is where you want him.
Yeah, so we'll see. Like yesterday, obviously, he didn't do very much. You hope that one of the things that I think really stands out to me, though, with A.J. Brown is just when he gets rolling off the line of scrimmage and he's running at a defender, he has great body control to like break down and efficiently run an in cut, like whether it's a deep in or a slant. And he gets those defenders, he gets up on the toes, he gets those defenders out of their stance, and then he can just kind of smoothly break in and out off of the top of the route, which makes him really difficult to cover. I just didn't see a whole lot of that on his Philly tape from last year. I just didn't see them using him in that way. So the play action routes and the slot routes, I think, will come in time. Obviously, the step one, though, is trying to see him increase his understanding and his grasp of the offense from the outside receiver role. The other thing I wanted to talk about was just the fallout here on the rest of the wide receiver room. We're talking a lot about him replacing Kayshon Boutte's role or taking over Kayshon Boutte's role, which obviously has a trickle-down effect on Kayshon Boutte. But what do you think? How do you think this kind of all shakes out behind Dobbs and Brown? Because we know those two guys are going to be regulars.
Well, I think what's cool is assuming they trade Kayshon Boutte, which it feels more and more like just from what you see reported is going to be the case. So your next guys up are Mac Hollins, Kyle Williams, and then maybe Pop Douglas and Efton Chisholm. Maybe it comes down to one of them making the team. I think those guys are different. I think they get pigeonholed into being redundant a little too much because they're both on the shorter side, but they could end up competing for one role. That being said, like between those 3 or 4, those are all very different players. So Mac Hollins is probably ultimately your third guy. Drake May likes throwing to him. They seem to want to be big at wide receiver. Certainly, if they get in a 4-minute, they're trying to run the ball, it's Mac Hollins. Mac Hollins might even be the guy in 12 over Romeo Dobbs late in games when they're trying to run the clock out. But between Mac Hollins, Kyle Williams, then those other 2 smaller guys, like you can kind of pick and choose depending on the matchup, depending on the situation, depending on the week. You can hunt different matchups and you can hunt different assignments depending on what you're trying to do. So, and that's something Josh McDaniels is one of Josh McDaniels' best abilities as a coordinator is to change looks, call the same play with different personnel and make it look different, make the defense defend it differently. So I think it's going to be, I think it's a good spot. If you're, how long have we talked about having the Patriots? Well, they have a bunch of good complementary guys. They just don't have the number one. They have the number one.
Yeah.
And now those complementary guys, I think, should be in a spot to shine. And it's going to be Josh McDaniels putting them in a position to succeed. You play a team with a bunch of smaller corners. Maybe that's a Mac Hollins week. You play a team that's a little more stiff on defense that doesn't want to be in that 3-corner set. Well, now maybe you go to Pop Douglas or you play man-heavy team. Now you go to Pop Douglas or you go to Efton Chisholm. You play a team where you're going to need some big plays or you play a team where you can get a matchup on a slower corner, an injured corner. Now it's a Kyle Williams week or it's a Kyle Williams is going to be a little more involved in that game plan or something like that. So I think it's great that their room's diversified behind those top 2. And it's going to allow them to do a bunch of different things depending on the opponent.
Yeah. So that was the other place I wanted to go with it, other than the depth chart, is just, this is this type of show. So just getting
that's what I'm saying. Like,
just getting into the weeds of how defenses are now going to defend the Patriots.
Is there a depth chart between those guys, or is it going to be more matchup based?
Yeah, I think that's a good way of looking at it. Obviously, they have 7 guys for maybe 6 spots if you want to include Efton Chisholm, which I, in my developing takes on OTAs, he's on that, so we'll get to more of that in a little bit. But the biggest thing to me is looking at, as much as I like A.J. Brown and Romeo Doubs, and I'm not trying to poo-poo anything about it, they're a little slow. If it's Romeo Doubs, A.J. Brown, Matt Collins, Hunter Henry
it's a little slow.
as your primary group of pass catchers, there's a lot to like about it because there's a lot of size, power, contested catchability. I think all those things are really good fits with Drake May. Down the field, like go ball winning, obviously, especially with A.J. Brown involved.
Yeah.
All that stuff is good with Drake May, and Romeo Doubs should be a good fit in the offense and all that different types of stuff. The guys that I think are kind of X factors in all of this are the guys that can bring an infusion of speed, which are Kyle Williams and Pop Douglas. So Kyle Williams and Pop Douglas are a little bit different in how they bring speed. I think Kyle Williams more of an outside guy, and Pop obviously more of like a speed slot, field stretching slot. But at the same time, their 3 receiver sets. Not take out the situation in the game for a second, or whether it's they're up or trailing or whatever. Let's just call it a passing situation. In a passing situation, they're just a little bit more dynamic to me if Pop or Kyle Williams is that third receiver instead of even Booty, if he's still here, or Matt Collins, because it brings a different dimension, whether it's an inside speed guy or it's an outside speed guy. And like I just talked about with kicking Brown maybe more inside than he did in Philadelphia, is Kyle Williams taking that next step possible so that he can play the outside spot and allow Josh McDaniels to move A.J. Brown around like a chess piece? Because that's really when the McDaniels offense is cooking to me, is when he has the freedom to just kind of move everybody around and hunt matchups. And a lot of the time, the way the structure of the offense and the passing game in this offense works, those matchups end up being inside.
Right.
So can they find ways to do that? And that really puts a lot of onus, in my opinion, on Kyle Williams. And that Kyle Williams taking that next step. And it's not lost on me that Mike Vrabel's brought up Kyle Williams unprompted like multiple times in his last 2 press conferences. He did it again yesterday.
Yeah.
He was asked a question about, guys in the wide receiver room and whatever, and he just unprompted brought up Kyle Williams. So I think they're trying to push Kyle Williams because I think they know they need a little bit of speed. A.J. Brown might not be as fast as he once was. Romeo Doubs is not considered like a third-level burner. Like, that's not his game either. So that they could add a little bit more speed there. You mentioned the schematic stuff. That's the most fascinating part to me because 2 years ago, last year, the Eagles' offense obviously tapered off and everybody kind of had a down year. 2 years ago, Alex, who was your MVP of the league 2 years ago? Let me see if you get this right.
Lamar.
No, like I had to take the quarterback out of it. Like,
what was 2 years ago?
Saquon Barkley.
Right.
2,000-yard rusher.
Yeah.
Saquon Barkley. A big reason why was because Saquon Barkley is really good.
Yeah.
Another big reason why is because they had a great offensive line.
Right.
But a lot of the issues that they presented to defenses were that they had prime A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith on the outside. And when you have those matchups on the outside, they were just seeing a whole lot of too high safety coverages. And it's just lightening the box, and it's giving the running game all sorts of room and to feast inside. So teams had to make a decision. Are we going to play one-on-one on the outside against their receivers to load the box against Saquon? Or are we going to empty the box and put the safeties over the top of the receivers, and now we have to worry about stopping the run? And there really wasn't a great answer to that problem. That's why the Eagles went on to win the Super Bowl and had one of the best running back seasons of all time for Saquon Barkley. I don't know if the Patriots are quite that yet. Their offensive line's not there yet.
No, but I texted this to you. You put out a tweet the other day, something about too high versus single high or whatever, and you were talking about wide receiver usage and Drake May against those looks, and I think I texted you back, all I see is run the damn ball.
Yeah.
And I said this when they made the trade, and it's because it's this show. I know this is where nobody's mind goes when you trade for a all-pro superstar wide receiver, but in keeping in line with everything else they've done this offseason from free agency to the draft, this is, among other things, this helps the run game.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to make it easier for them to run the ball, which they became too one-dimensional at the end of the year.
So the numbers behind this, I tweeted these out in the article, the film breakdown that I wrote about A.J. Brown. In the regular season, the Patriots only saw 2 high safety coverages. So split safeties, 2 over the top, like a cover 2, a quarters, cover 6. They only saw that 39% of the time. In the playoffs, when they played better defenses and they played defenses that were game planning specifically that week to beat Drake May, that number increased to 51%, which is a very high percentage. It would have been the highest percentage in the league if that had held for an entire season. So in the playoffs, they started playing a lot more 2 deep safeties. In the playoffs, they also started to play a lot more cover 6, which is what Seattle used in the Super Bowl. That's a whole nother web that we can kind of get into as well in terms of what specifically that coverage does. But all they're trying to do, to put it in, football parlance, they're trying to cloud the field, which means they're trying to put those 2 safeties over the top because they're trying to take Drake May's deep ball away.
Yeah.
They don't want him to throw the deep ball down the field. So by putting the safeties over the top of the outside receivers, now you make it an inside game, a run game, and you take away his superpower of throwing the deep ball. The Eagles over the last 2 years, I just gave it away. The Eagles over the last 2 years saw more 2 high safeties than about any other offense in the league, especially in 2024 when they won the Super Bowl because of A.J. Brown and a little bit because of Devontae Smith too. So if the Patriots start to see more of those 2 high safety shells as a result of having a guy like A.J. Brown on the outside, what does that do? I think it does 2 primary things. The run game is a big one, and I want to get to a point about that. The other thing is that the inside receiver should have a lot more room to operate because there's one less body in that area of the field. So a guy like Romeo Doubs, a guy like Hunter Henry, a guy like Efton Chisholm or Pop Douglas, whoever emerges as that speed slot or second slot receiver behind Romeo Doubs, those guys should all be able to eat in the middle. And I remember when they used to play 2 high against Brady, and they didn't do it as frequently once Moss left, obviously, but there were spurts of it where teams would do it. And they would just put, Edelman, Amendola, Gronk, Hernandez, like those guys would just play in the middle. And that Mike linebacker was in hell. Like, because you can't cover a guy that is as quick and as dynamic of a receiver as A.J. Brown, as a 245-pound linebacker. You have no chance.
No.
So that was the way that they sort of were able to beat it. The other thing to, bring it full circle with the run game, I'm really excited to see. They signed a pretty good fullback that I'm pretty excited about with Reggie Gilliam. Now, this takes a minor hit with Julian Hill, which bums me out because I thought that this would really be like the true zag would be, okay, you're worried about the deep passing game. You're going to play with the 2 safeties over the top of the defense. We're going to put 12 personnel, 22 personnel out in the field. We're going to have a fullback. We're going to have multiple tight ends, and we're just going to turn around and hand the ball off to Ramondre Stevenson and Travion Henderson, and we're going to ram it down your throats. And that's usually the zig to the zag, right? Like that's usually what
classic Josh McDaniels.
Yeah. So all these different things, though, Philly's uptick in 2 high safety shells with A.J. Brown, the Patriots uptick of 2 high safety shells in the playoffs. I would assume they're going to see a lot of 2 high safeties in the regular season. That spells to me a huge season for the running game. It should, especially with the improvements that they've made on the offensive line and with Gilliam. Pour one out for Julian Hill. That bummed me out that happened.
Sneaky tough loss, but like you said, how much can they develop Raridan as a blocker here before the start of the season? Because if he can develop as a blocker, TV turned off again.
That TV is just flickering for like 2 weeks now.
Okay. If Raridan develops as a blocker, like, all right, now you're good to go for 12 personnel again. If not, it opens the door for CJ Dupree or Tanner Arkin because they are still going to want that blocking tight end element. They're going to keep 3. Like, there is going to be another spot. It felt like it was going to be Henry as the primary guy, Hill is the blocker, and Raridan is kind of the tweener developmental player. Now it's Henry is the one, Raridan's your second receiving tight end, but you're going to have like you're going to have a Dwayne Allen, somebody like that, and that again is probably Dupree or Arkin. Maybe Jack Westover gets back in the mix after playing fullback last year. I'll give you one more, Evan, that kind of interests me. They signed Reggie Gilliam. He's going to be the fullback, right?
Yes.
If you're Brock Lampy, do you go to the coaches and say, let me play tight end to try to get a roster spot?
Maybe. He's just so burly. Like he just reminds me so much more of like a James Devlin.
Yeah, no, he's 6 foot 250.
Yeah, like he's a squat rack kind of guy. Like I just can't imagine. He doesn't have the body type for it. Like Westover doesn't have the body type for it because he's too slight. Like it's the opposite. Whereas Westover, I mean, at fullback.
Yeah.
Brock Lampy to me doesn't have like one of the things that stood out to me, and this is in my developing takes about OTAs, is like Reggie Gilliam's got like a really nice like stride to him. Like he's got the ability to kind of open his strides up and run pretty well. I don't know if Brock Lampy has that ability to run routes at that size.
I mean, I think
type.
the idea would be purely as like a Dwayne Allen type.
Sure. So whether it's Arkin, whether it's Dupree, whether it's something like that, Westover, or Brock Lampy translating back over to more natural tight ends. I did take a quick peek at the free agent tight ends. I don't hate the idea of bringing in a veteran. Like Julian Hill was a guy you were going to play probably 35 to 40% of the snaps. Like that's a pretty substantial role in your offense. And I don't really feel like Eli Raritan, even if he pans out and is a good pro, I don't really feel like he fits the mold of what they were trying to do with Julian Hill. So old pal Pharaoh Brown's still out there. He's kind of more of like an inline blocking tight end. Johnny Smith's still out there too, if you want to talk about old friends. He's not signed right now. Will Disley, I don't know what his injury situation is. I know he's had a lot of injuries.
Can I get weird and say Mercedes Lewis?
Mercedes Lewis was got to be like 40. I don't think
he's technically right. No, he's well past 40.
Yeah, but he's technically a free agent. Like I wouldn't rule that out either.
Mercedes Lewis is 42.
Not an expensive one. Like we're not talking about,
no.
We talked about Kayvon Thibodeau earlier in the show. I'm not saying to do something like that, but another veteran body that's played some NFL football probably would go a long way. That was all I had really on the AJ Brown thing 40 minutes into the show. So the other question here from Floyd in Michigan that I don't want it to make it sound like we're kind of going around the compensation here. So we can answer this question. I am a fan of Catch-22, but please talk about the high price for AJ Brown. Even Mike Reese said that it was a high price. With the Patriots being the only known suitor, what caused the overpay? So I'm a little bit weary of calling it an overpay because it's a 2028 first round pick.
So
if they had given up a 2027 first round pick, I would have felt like it was a little bit of an overpay.
Well, let's start here. I want to start with the second part of that first. The Patriots being the only suitor. This was a very unique trade in that we knew it was going to happen months ago, but it didn't happen, right? I don't think the Patriots were literally the only team that called the Eagles about A.J. Brown. We know. We heard the Rams are in. We heard, I think they said the Bills checked in before they traded for, what's his name?
DJ Moore?
DJ Moore, thank you.
Yeah.
I can't even remember his name now. He blew up the whole freaking offseason.
Just the hate. Hate is...
I don't think the Patriots were the only suitor from day one.
Yeah.
I think
that's how I look at it as well.
The Patriots because if the Bills are going to give up a second round pick for DJ Moore, is it safe to assume they would have given up a second round pick for AJ Brown? Yes or no?
I would think so.
Yeah, right? I think that's a fair...
I don't know what exactly DJ Moore's contract and all the different particulars of DJ Moore. Right. But I would think...
And a second-round pick from A.J. Brown is not unreasonable.
Yeah.
So what I'm guessing happened is a bunch of teams put second-round picks on the table.
Yep.
The Patriots then put on a first. Nobody else was putting on a first. So all the other teams stopped calling because they knew they were outbid. And then you had this 3-month stretch where nothing happened. So sure, in those 3 months, there weren't any other suitors, but that's not when the trade was being negotiated.
Yeah.
The trade was negotiated months ago. So I think to say the Patriots were the only team in on A.J. Brown, I guess in a sense is correct at the end, but it's because everybody else pulled out because the Patriots willing to offer more. And to get back to the other point...
That's exactly how I look at it.
So did the Patriots offer more than everybody else? Yes. That's how you make a trade.
They got the player.
Is it right? They got the player. Is it an overpay? If you were to punch into your little spreadsheet there, an EPA or DVOA or approximate value or football war, hopefully that never becomes a thing. Is it a thing?
Yeah.
Football war is a thing?
Yeah.
Great. We're losing the battle. Whatever you punch
you lost the war is what
I'm still fighting a good fight. Whatever you punch in.
Yeah.
Did the Patriots probably give up more of that than they got? Yeah, probably. I don't think by an extreme amount, but they probably gave up more value than they got. There's two things to that. One, what was the alternative?
Going in with Romeo Dobbs as your number one receiver.
Right. At a certain point, we talked about this. Once they cut Diggs, you could not go into this season with less than a wide receiver than he had last year. It was unacceptable. It would have been organizational malpractice.
Yeah.
And you look at, you highlighted off the top of the show what that is going to do for Drake May and the long-term investment in that. So it's not just that, okay, they maybe gave up a little more value. They made the team better, which is what's important. And we've talked, when you talk about team building in the NFL, you hear people talk about the 1 year, the 3 year, and the 5 year outlook. And every decision is basically made through those three windows. And depending on where you are as an organization and what the move is, does the move service the 1 year window, the 3 year window, or the 5 year window? For where the Patriots have been basically since Brady left, and you could even argue for the last year or two of Brady, we have been so focused on the 5 year window. As that was the case, they were a 5 year window kind of team. They were not a 1 year window kind of team. We are now at a spot where is this a good move for the 5 year window? No, it's not. But is it a great move for the 1 to 3 year window? Yes. And those are the windows that they should care about more. We talked about this earlier, the rookie contract.
Yeah.
So that's part one of why I don't mind they overpaid a little bit. The other side of it is, Evan, how many years going back to Larry Fitzgerald and Steve Smith and Odell Beckham and A.J. Brown the first time, DeAndre Hopkins, Brandon Ayuk, admittedly, they were right to not make some of these moves. DK Metcalf. Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
And they didn't get the player. And what did we say every time? You have to get uncomfortable to land that guy. And they were never willing to get uncomfortable. And for some of those, admittedly, maybe they didn't need to get uncomfortable. Maybe they weren't in a spot where that move made sense. Certainly in like 2020, I think it was Beckham in 2020. Whatever.
When he went to the Rams.
The Browns.
Oh, the Browns.
It was after Brady had left, I think. Yeah. It was like, okay, that trade wouldn't have made sense. But like, now it does. You kind of have to lose the trade in the long term to make one of these deals.
I just don't even know if they totally lost the trade, because Jalen Waddle went for all the picks in 2026, a first, a third, and a fourth round pick, and they swapped fourth round picks. So let's just call it a first and the third, because the fourth round picks were one's 111 and one's 130. It's a matter of,
that's almost jumping like a full round. That's not insignificant.
It's half a round.
It's not insignificant.
It's 19 picks. But let's just call it for what it is, right? A first, a third, and some sweetener, okay? For Jalen Waddle, who's a year younger. I think Jalen Waddle is the 2020 or 2021 draft class, and A.J. Brown's the 2019 draft class. So a year younger. Maybe, if you believe some of the reporting on the knee, a little bit healthier, but there's a significant difference between picks, not in 2027, picks in 2026, this year's draft.
Yeah.
To picks in 2 years from now, a first round pick 2 years from now. I understand in the world, a first round pick's a first round pick, but to most NFL people, a year later means that it's actually you take a round off.
Yeah, I don't entirely buy that.
Even if you take a little bit of the value off,
I think the real value in it is time. The NFL time is a valuable thing, and you have, one, there's less certainty about what that pick will be. And two, you have more time to recoup it. Get ready, Evan. We're doing a ton of should the Patriots trade down talk next spring, right?
Trade one of their players for surplus picks. Yeah. But like the point I'm getting at is like, I'm not really entirely sold that they overpaid on the trade. Like,
I guess when I say that,
first round pick 2 years from now, I'm not saying it like because you said it. I'm just saying like that was what the email said.
Coming off the trade, which team is going to be based off the assets involved? Which team is going to be in a better spot in 5 years?
I guess you could argue the Eagles,
but.
Maybe
now's not the time to care about the 5 year window if you're the Patriots. It's not. It's just not.
But I also don't know that that's true, because like, and I know this is getting a little philosophical.
Yeah.
But the two things that I talked about consistently with this before the trade was made. First of all, I was always cool with giving up the 2028 first. I said that multiple times, that I would give up a 2028 first for A.J. Brown. That's what they ended up doing. The second thing is that you have to look at the big picture of the investment that the organization is making in Drake May. The worst possible thing that they could do as an organization from this point on is have any sort of regression for Drake May.
Right.
And have that be because of them, right? Whether that's coaching changes, roster changes, getting worse on the roster like they did with Mac Jones, whatever the case may be, going backwards is not an option. So even if you want to concede what Floyd called overpaying for A.J. Brown, if you want to concede that point, in the long run, isn't it worth it to make sure that Drake May has everything that he needs to continue to progress and to continue to get better and then hit his ceiling as a player and as a football player? Because 5 years from now, if Drake May is just a perennial MVP candidate, then who's better off, the Patriots or the Eagles? The Patriots.
This is where, not to make this an analytics versus eye test thing, but the numbers might end up saying that the Eagles added more value in the long term. But
I don't think you can't quantify the Drake May value. You can't quantify
the human element.
Well, just to not use a Mac Jones comparison, because I know people hear that and they're like, well, he stunk anyways. Like C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud had a great rookie season.
I would argue they gave C.J. Stroud help.
But C.J. Stroud, I don't know about that. I mean, their offensive line is not good.
Okay, they didn't help the line.
Their
they helped
coaching
them at
has
receiver.
not been
They didn't help
good.
the line. That's fair.
So C.J. Stroud has this great rookie year. He looks like he's the next thing. He's really had a rookie year that was pretty comparable to what Drake May just did last year.
Yeah.
They didn't get as far in the playoffs, but similar. So C.J. Stroud has a year like that, and then things start to decay a little bit around him. Now, some of that's outside of their control, like Tank Dell getting hurt and stuff like that. But the offensive coaching takes a step back. Bobby Slowick, wonder kid, all of a sudden becomes a nothing, right? And he gets, scapegoated, basically, gets fired. They've never really figured out that offensive line. They traded Laramie Tunsil, which I still don't understand why they did that.
Right.
They do all these different things, and now all of a sudden, C.J. Stroud's playing a playoff game here against the Patriots and throwing 5 interceptions in a half. Right. And it's like, holy crap, what just happened? Like, we thought we had our franchise quarterback. We thought we were set for the next 10 years. Now we don't even know if we want to give the guy a second contract. And the investment of A.J. Brown in Drake May, in that sense, in the long term, I know you're going to love this. It's something you can't quantify.
It's exactly what I want to say. The analytics are going to tell you the Eagles won this trade. It's going to go beyond that.
All right, let's take some of these calls because the call screen is lighting up. We have a bunch of emails too. I do want to get to my developing half-baked takes on OTAs. I don't feel like I've seen enough yet for them to be fully baked takes. So I'm going to call them developing takes on OTAs. But let's take some of these calls because I know you guys have been waiting. Patty is in Agawam. What's up, Patty?
What's up, guys? How you doing today?
Hey.
Good.
All right. Yeah, I was on record that I didn't want to trade for Brown just because of the cost, but Paul kind of made a pretty good common sense point yesterday on PU, and I'm not going to get into it. I'm not even going to try and paraphrase it, but that and just listening to him talk at his presser yesterday, Evan, I think you brought this up that he just sounded genuinely excited to be here, and that's something I can't remember us having in a long time in an elite player, And I wanted to my big picture question going forward is, you brought this up yesterday, Evan, and you brought it up again today. Do you almost have to keep Pop Douglas at this point, at least for this season, before you could possibly go into the draft next year and get another speedy guy? Because if you only have Kyle Williams as your one fast wide receiver, does that sort of handcuff you? And I'll take it off here, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Patty. I guess it depends on the summer that Kyle Williams has. Like, if he's really making that leap and making that push. But I never really considered Pop Douglas as an odd man out yet because he does bring such a different dimension. Like, even if Pop Douglas, who's on the last year of his rookie contract, it's not like you're paying him much.
Right.
Even if Pop Douglas is just kind of a speed gadget player and he's kind of like a 4th or 5th wide receiver that plays in certain packages and certain passing situations, I don't know why you'd have to move on from that player. Like, it seems to me like that they have just enough snaps and roles for that kind of guy.
The argument is, if Chisholm really comes along, right?
But I just feel and you said this earlier, I just feel like they're so different. Like, Chisholm's not going to bring speed to the offense.
Right, but the idea is if you have, and I like Pop, if it's Brown, Dobbs, Hollins, Williams, and you just, for whatever reason, you're keeping 5 wide receivers, right? And that's just the limit. That's the way the roster dictates.
Right.
Chisholm can play special teams. Pop's on his expiring contract. if you can get something for him. I don't think Pop Douglas gets cut. I really don't think he gets cut. If somebody calls you with a 5th-round pick, is the gap close enough between Pop Douglas and Efton Chisholm that, okay, well, if we can get a 5th for this guy on an expiring contract, we'll get the 5th, and then Chisholm will get the last spot. I don't love that, especially because of the speed, like you mentioned.
Right.
That, to me, is how, if you're going to ask how does Chisholm end up on the roster but Pop doesn't, that's the only way I see that happening.
Yeah, I guess I disagree.
But of course, they could both make it.
I agree with Patty's premise of I think that Pop brings enough of a different skill set that I think his skill set's valuable. Because even to Kyle Williams,
I'm with you.
He's a little different than Kyle Williams.
He's very
too.
different than Kyle Williams.
Like, he's more of a jitterbug. He's more of an inside player. I don't think that they're all that much alike either. I think Kyle Williams is much more of a linear down the field athlete. Whereas, Pop is really that jitterbug slot with maybe a little bit more vertical stretch than like a Julian Edelman or something like that. Sean is in Vancouver. What's up, Sean?
So Kayshon Boutte for Kayvon Thibodeau makes sense to me. Is that something trade that you think will happen? And the other question, you addressed the tight ends with Julian Hill being out. One player, veteran you didn't mention, that it could be someone they bring in is Tucker Fisk. But what's more likely, that they bring in another free agent, or they just have a competition amongst their own players? So I'll leave you with that. Thanks.
Thanks, Sean. I appreciate the call. So on the tight ends, I would say this is usually, to me, something that would happen like sometime in August.
Yeah, I think they'll see what they have.
Right. Like, if you get to like right around that first preseason game and you're not loving what you're seeing out of the UDFAs,
right,
or Raritan's not quite ready to be the second tight end, then maybe that's when you pick up the phone and call some of these free agents.
I'll give you one more name that I don't think we mentioned earlier.
Sure.
Anthony Ferkser.
Oh, yeah, he was in Tennessee, right, with Vrabel?
Was in Tennessee with Vrabel.
Yeah.
He was also here for a very brief moment in 2023. Here. Harvard guy. Oh, no, he signed. Never mind. He signed with the Commanders. He signed today with the Commanders. That's why. I was like, I looked at this yesterday. He was definitely on the list.
Maybe they thought the Patriots were going to swoop in.
When did this happen? Oh, today's 3rd. It happened yesterday. Okay.
Because that's a classic, all these guys that Vrabel has brought over. That's another classic one of those. I remember didn't he have a decent game in the playoff game they had here in 19?
Yeah.
He had a couple catches.
He had 400 yards for him in 2020.
Yeah. Todd is in Gardner. What's up, Todd?
Hey, guys. I know I've been a little bit non-pulsed about the A.J. Brown signing, because I really think that it's all about Drake. And I just want to know what you guys think he needs to focus on to take that, the next step. We know that he's already taken the first one. And I thank AVP for a lot of it, too, because I think he made a difference. So what's next? Does he need to be able to do pre-snap adjustments better? Does he need to have a better perception of what's going on with the defense? Or what do you think his next step in his evolution? And I'll take the answer up there. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Todd. I got to be honest. We've talked a lot about this on PU. I agree with some of the premise of mentally, could he take that next step, seeing things pre-snap, diagnosing blitzes pre-snap, basically orchestrating the offense at the line of scrimmage. I'm sure there are things that he could probably take that next step in. Honestly, to me, I just think the next step for him is just experience against elite opponents in like critical moments. He only's done it once. And, this is probably bigger in other sports like the NBA and stuff like that. But most of the time, you have to like taste your own blood a couple of times before you get over the hump. Mahomes and Brady are kind of anomalies there, although Mahomes lost to Brady the first time. So maybe that's a good example there. I personally, I think that all that Drake may needs is more experience. Like, he needs to play more football.
Right.
And I don't think that it's anything that he's physically or even really mentally behind on or just not capable of doing. I just think that he's 23 and he just needs to actually just play more and see more defenses and play more football. Last year was his first playoff run. It was his first playoff run against statistically one of the hardest passive defenses that any quarterback has ever faced, at least in like the more recent NFL history. So I think he just needs to see more of it. I don't know if there's one, a lot of people have pointed to like the blitzes and some of the things Seattle did to them in the Super Bowl. I agree, but at the same time, like how many defenses are realistically going to replicate that at the level that Seattle could?
Right. That was, and I mean, look, well, I guess when they get the Rams in the Super Bowl this year,
Right.
yeah, but now we've seen it.
Right. So
That's not something you're going to have to, it's a good point. That's not something you're going to have to deal with week in and week out.
I just think that all of these things that we're talking about, whether it's diagnosing defenses, pre-snap, control of the offense, all those different types of things, that's all experience based. Like none of that is like he's anything else other than him just seeing more of it. And I think that just comes in time. Marcus is in South Carolina, I believe. What's up, Marcus?
What's going on, fellas?
How we doing?
Hey.
Doing good. Great week to be a Patriot, I just want to say, I think now, for the first time, we got a superstar receiver that actually wants to be a Patriot. That's something that we just, it's not Stephon Diggs. Not that he didn't enjoy being a Patriot, but A.J. Brown really wanted to be here. And so I think this makes us into a contender, like we're already a contender, but a super contender now with the top 5 quarterback, in my opinion. And I want to know where y'all rank us in the AFC if you had to guess playoff seeding wise and the schedule coming up. What are your projections for us going into next season? Thanks, fellas.
Thanks for the call, Marcus. I think we said it earlier that we both feel like they're right there at the top of the AFC. Where will they end up seeding wise? Obviously, with the schedule, and do they win the division? Do they not win the division?
I'll add this too. You talk about that. You mentioned the Broncos. You have them and the Broncos right there as like 1-2.
I'd say them, the Broncos. Obviously the old guard, Buffalo, Baltimore, Kansas City. If those teams have peak seasons, then they're going to be
all right. So take Baltimore
really
out
good.
of that for a second. The Patriots do have to play the Bills.
Yeah,
but they each get to play the Dolphins and the Jets.
Yeah,
twice.
Yep.
The Broncos have to go through the Chargers, the Chiefs, and who knows? I mean, if you believe in Fernando Mendoza, the Raiders should be better than
they should be scrappy.
Should the Raiders power rank these teams this year? Raiders, Dolphins, Jets.
Raiders, Dolphins, Jets.
Yeah.
Raiders, Jets, Dolphins.
Okay, so the Raiders are better than the
both those
2
teams. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So like that, if it comes down to seeding between the Patriots and the Broncos.
Yep.
The Broncos, I think, what's more likely, the Patriots win their division or the Broncos win theirs? Come on.
I'd say probably the Patriots. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, I don't necessarily. The reason why I hesitated.
Yeah.
The Chargers to me are still this team that is great on paper that still hasn't realized its potential.
Yeah, but that always happens in the playoffs.
But just in general,
and that's still like,
I'm not like the Jim Harbaugh thing has worked in terms of that they're a respectable team now. But like I'm not convinced, and then I'm not convinced that Mahomes and Reed have this huge bounce back.
So you don't have to talk to me about the Chargers being a paper tiger. Like I'm with you on that. But you can if you catch them on the wrong day, they're talented.
The Chargers are a 10-win team just off their talent.
Who's more likely to sneak up on? So I would count the Chargers as the 3rd team in the West.
I guess the reason why I hesitated to simplify it, I just think the Bills are the 2nd best team, right? Like it's the Patriots and the Broncos and the Bills. And then there's the AFC West teams come after the Bills.
And then we can throw the Ravens back in there. Like that division might be terrible, so they might get the 1 seed ultimately. But like
another 9-8 division champ or whatever it was last year, 10-7, whatever the Steelers.
I think we talk about the Patriots and the Broncos. The Patriots should be more likely to win their division than the Broncos. And then because the Patriots and the Bills, but like even if the Chargers don't finish with a better record, the Chargers can get you. The Raiders can get you more than I think an off day against the Jets or the Dolphins is going to get you. And then we'll see with the Chiefs. The
Chargers are definitely a better team than the Dolphins and the Jets. Like
so I'm counting the Chargers the 3rd team in the West.
So you think the Chiefs are going to the second best?
I think the Chiefs will ultimately be okay. I short term. I mean, they're going to be a tough out this year. They'll be competitive. They'll be in the playoff conversation. Like they should win. They should be in it in December and January. And do they end up as like the 8th seed and just out? Maybe. I think that's probably around where their floor is, but they still have a good defense. I know they've lost some pieces, but they still have a good defense. They still have Patrick Mahomes. Like they're not the Dolphins or the Jets.
No, they're definitely better than that. The thing with the Chiefs to me is I just don't really, I don't really fully understand what they're doing. Like the Trent McDuffie trade to me just made
I think they're
no
trying to
sense.
get ahead on a rebuild. I think they know they need a rebuild around Mahomes. They don't want to be.
But if they needed to rebuild them around Mahomes, which I sort of agree with, but like the rebuild was the offense. The rebuild is skill players on offense. They need more pass catchers. Like
Unless they want to try to do that through free agency.
The fact that they haven't called Stephon Diggs and got him in that building
maybe they have.
I mean, how is Stephon Diggs not a Chief? I just don't.
Because he doesn't want to do OTAs.
Maybe that's all it is.
He's doing the Steph Gilmore. I'll see you in the summer. But
yeah, there's Zeke Elliott. I just think that's crazy. That should be an automatic slam dunk.
I think there's a better chance the AFC West all beats up on each other.
I mean, just like not to do the Chiefs thing, but imagining how good Diggs is at filling out zones and like finding like openings and getting himself open with Mahomes. Like, isn't that just Mahomes and Travis Kelce and like the improv that they've done for years?
Yeah.
Like, it's the same thing that they can be doing with Diggs. Yeah. Christian is in LA. What's up, Christian?
Hey, you guys.
Hey.
So let's get into some, for me, what is something people are missing when they talk about who in the AFC we have to go through. I did not see any team in the AFC make such significant improvement that I went, wow, we got to really look out for those guys, like the Rams did over the offseason. The NFC's going, wow, we really got to prepare for the Rams. I don't really see anybody but us, actually, that made that kind of move in the AFC that sort of scared me from where they were last year. Secondly, you guys are forgetting that Bo Nix had a significant injury last year, so much so that the rah-rah coach that Sean Payton is literally said, I would not have drafted him had I known about the injury. So we have to see what's going to happen with Bo Nix. Is he going to regress naturally as a quarterback, like in the second year or so forth? And with that natural regression, is this injury that is now reoccurring, is that going to be a factor in how the Broncos stack up? But what I really want to get to, what I really want to get you guys to put a little more focus on is, I think the key player in our offense really is Travion Henderson. I think with his ability, I mean, Ramondre is Ramondre. We know what he's going to do. We know what he's going to get. We got a better line supposedly this year. Ramondre is not the home run hitter, high impact player that Travion Henderson, I believe, is and can develop into. So for me, I know A.J. Brown's going to A.J. Brown. I know Romeo's going to Romeo, and the tight end situation will work itself out to some degree. The key impact player for me that turns the season into these guys are moonshotting is Travion Henderson. I think when you got Kyle Williams, if he can develop on the outside, that's sort of a Jameson Williams comp. I hope he develops into that. You got Ramondre, that's sort of the guy they traded from the Lions last year.
David Montgomery.
And then you got Montgomery, and then you got you got AJ, who's the Amon-Ra as far as yards and totals and impact, and then you got this Travion Henderson, which I think he's Jahmyr Gibbs 2.0. If we can develop him behind this line, again, the other guys are going to do what they're going to do. He, to me, is a pivotal impact player. So could you guys talk about how, if he develops, how that really does open up the rest of the offense, more so than even in A.J. Brown, if you really want to talk about it. If Travion develops, that's going to really bring those two high safeties down. And then you really got, A.J. Brown doing what A.J. Brown does. Anyway, I love calling you guys on your day, too, so I'll take it off the air, and thank you guys for having me.
Thanks for the call, Christian. Yeah, look, I think that with Travion Henderson, like, I'm just not, how do I put this? I guess, like, he's always going to be a home run hitter to me.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. That's a good element of the offense to have. And I just don't know if he's going to be on the field and have the volume to do what Christian's saying, where he's making this huge impact on like tilting the game like a Jahmyr Gibbs
Right.
does.
No, it's still, although I did like, he was, when we talked to Henderson yesterday, he mentioned that pass blocking and route running are two things he wants to work on, which are good.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it makes him a more well-rounded back. It's A.J. Brown having the impact on him. It's what we talked about earlier, bringing those safeties back. I don't think you're going to see teams start loading the box to stop Travion Henderson with A.J. Brown on the outside if A.J. Brown's producing. I think they'll give you Travion Henderson all day. Now,
well, that was not to do a math thing, but that's just the math. Like, the math just tells you that A.J. Brown's going to average 16 yards a catch if you single cover him on the outside. Travion's going to average like 4.5, 5 yards a carry. What would you rather do? Give up 16 yards per pass or 5 yards per carry?
It depends on the situation, and there's all these other factors in it. But
just on the surface.
Sure. it becomes about Henderson making the most, and Stevenson too, making the most of those opportunities.
Yeah, no, the run game as a whole is a big factor.
And I think the big thing for Henderson there is he struggled in traffic last year, and if A.J. Brown is pulling a defender out of the box and it's one less guy he has to navigate, the better. But it's still going to be A.J. Brown. Like, A.J. Brown's still the focal point.
No, we said the speed element with Kyle Williams. I guess you could make the case as well with Trayvon Henderson. Like, if he brings a dimension of speed that he brought last year, I just don't necessarily think he needs to be anything more than he was last year to have a big impact. Like, what he was last year was what they needed him to be, a big home run hitter that, once or twice a month was hitting a 60-yard touchdown run. Like, that's the type of guy that they need him to be, and hopefully that's the kind of guy he is. Now, if he's Jahmyr Gibbs and Gibbs had about 900 yards his rookie year, then had 1,600 his second year. I don't know if he's that, but that's what the year 2 leap for Jahmyr Gibbs was massive. It was a superstar player.
Just going through to the first point of his call. The Titans had a very good offseason. You could argue the Titans did as much as the Patriots, but obviously they're starting from much further away.
The Raiders, the Titans, like the teams that stunk. Yeah.
The other two teams, I would say, the Bengals had a decent offseason. They had Orlando
I do like
Brown,
the Dexter Lawrence trade.
Dexter Lawrence. They had a Boye Mafe, Jonathan Allen. Like, they got better in the trenches. They also got Brian Cook and Kyle Duggar. Those two good safeties. But none of it matters if Joe Burrow doesn't stay healthy.
I also don't believe in that coach.
And then, there's that too. And then I don't know how much credit do you give the Ravens for just Trey Hendrickson and Awuzie. I guess Jalen Hawkins.
Matabuke, if he plays, I guess not an addition, but he didn't play all last year because of that neck injury. So if he's back, like, that's an all-pro caliber defensive tackle. Let's rifle through the last of these calls, and we got to take a quick break. Eldred is in North Carolina. What's up, Eldred? Nice, in the truck.
Hey, fellas.
How
y'all doing?
Good.
Hey, tell Christian that look on AJ's face remind me of Moss when they first got Moss in 2007. Like, I got something to prove. So I think he'll do all right. But like you said in that presser, he only missed one game with that knee out of 4 years. So, so I think he's about ready. My question is, everybody keeps talking about Pop and Booty's leaving. Okay, I understand, the situation. Okay, I know Mac Hollins got one certain but don't you have a UDFA that's young and can block and run too, 6'4"? Use him like maybe the sixth receiver instead of Hollins because of the age and stuff to develop your young and players that come up to take. My boy Brown plays once Brown leaves. That's where I would try it anyway. But I don't know. What do y'all think? I'll take it off the air.
Thanks. I think he's talking about Kyle Dixon.
Yeah, this is a guy coming from the NAI level. Matt Collins has proven he can do it. Drake May has great chemistry with him. It's way too soon to start talking about making a move.
Yeah, like Kyle Dixon as a fringe roster practice squad player for a year, while Matt Collins is the guy on the roster that's getting that role.
Yeah, maybe eventually that's the switch. But
I like Matt Collins. I think Matt Collins is like a low-key glue guy.
There's the chemistry thing.
The chemistry,
the
comfort level, the type of routes that he can run over the middle of the field, the blocking, the culture add in the locker room. Just a super fun guy to have in the room and in that wide receiver room, veteran presence. I'm not saying that he's AJ Brown, like talent wise, but in a room there, you need some guys that are just cool with being the veteran role player. Like, he's cool with being the veteran role player, and you're gonna have AJ Brown and Romeo Doubs are gonna want a lot of targets. The other guys are hungry and want opportunities, the younger guys, and Matt Collins is kind of just like, I'm Matt Collins, like I'm chilling, which I think you need a little bit. Al is in California. Call us back. All right, we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna do my half-baked ideas from training camp.
Come welcome our newest restaurant additions at Patriot Place. Estella brings a celebration of flavors with a modern fusion menu, exciting cocktails, and brunch available daily beginning at 11 a.m. Enjoy freshly brewed coffee and Mediterranean-inspired breakfast and lunch from Angel's Cafe. Craving the classics? Chick-fil-A makes it easy to grab your favorite with mobile through, carry-out, and dine-in options. Download the Patriot Place Advantage app for special offers and to earn rewards every time you visit. Patriot Place. Shop, dine, enjoy.
The heaviest metal credit card of all time. Wielded at business dinners like a samurai sword. It's a classic corporate power move. But the real power move? Having end-to-end visibility on your most critical shipments. FedEx, the new power move.
Whether you're in the game or betting on the game, you'll need a game plan. DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the New England Patriots, provides you with everything you need to build your personal betting game plan so you can get in on all the action while practicing safe bets. Visit DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming to learn more about all the safe betting tools DraftKings has to offer. Hope is here, 800-327-5050 or gamblinghelplinema.org. Must be 21 plus. Play it smart from the start. GameSenseMA.com. Physically present in Massachusetts. See DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
If you're gonna play the game, boy, you gotta learn to play it right.
DraftKings is all about responsible gaming. It's more fun when it's for fun. So play responsibly. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction.
Catch-22. Catch-22.
Already dreaming of football season? Bob's Discount Furniture can help. Shop Bob's selection of top-rated Consumer Report recommended mattresses like the premium Copper Radiance, which boasts an individually wrapped coil system for peaceful post-game Z's, and the Treasure Dual, which over 1,000 fans say gives them 5-star sleep. So stop in or shop online to score big on a better sleep setup with Bob's Discount Furniture, the official furniture store of the New England Patriots. I gotta say, words like Copper Radiance and wrapped coil system, those are a little bit of a tongue twister in a read.
Sounds like it.
But we made it through. What's going on with this iPhone game? Tell me about this iPhone. I like to do a little silly in the middle.
You want to do a little?
Yeah, a little silly. It's a little silly non-football.
So this is kind of blowing up on Twitter. It's called the 82-0.
Yeah.
So it gives you you basically just start and you shuffle. It's every team and then it's every decade, the 60s through now. Okay. And so you spin the wheel and so it'll give you like Celtics 2000s. And then you pick a player off the roster. And obviously each player is limited to positions and you go through and you try to pick the best 5 and it tells you based on like the stats, it does points, rebounds, assists, blocks, steals, like it gives you a record. And the goal is to make a team that can go 82-0. And the best I've done so far, I got a 78 wins. Is the closest I've gotten. If they ever make a football version of this, and it would be a lot harder with football, somebody's going to try it because you always get copycats with stuff like this. If they ever make a football version, you're not going to hear from me for a little bit.
Okay, so our walk into the stadium today, because there's all this FIFA stuff going on.
I'm a little hooked.
So everything's all shut down. Alex was just walking in, and he was just rattling off names from obscure NBA decades, and just saying,
well,
look at this
obscure.
lineup, 77
Here's
wins.
here's the best
wins.
I've done so far.
Okay.
Allen Iverson, Kevin Durant, Michael Jordan, Giannis, Moses Malone.
Okay, so Moses Malone seems to be like an X factor in a lot of these. That you
you want to go older center because there's like the absurd rebounding numbers.
Okay,
so that helps you.
But we're
I have not gotten Bill Russell yet.
The older centers just like park their butt on the post and just turn around and hit hook shots.
So I did one other 77-win team. You'll like this: Steph Curry, LeBron James, Dominique Wilkins, Bob Pettit, and Wemby.
So obviously I know that they're going to make it hard to do this, but basically the team you're going for is like Steph Curry, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Magic Johnson, Kareem, or like something like that, right?
So
like that would be.
One guy did get to, I saw one guy got to 82-0 on Twitter. It was, I'm trying to find his team. I thought I had, so he got 82-0.
Okay.
Magic, Luka, Kawhi, Raptors Kawhi, Ralph Sampson, Wilt Chamberlain.
Pretty good.
That's not bad.
Although I'm hunting Luka on defense like he's going out of style. Like Luka, I'm just like running through every screen. Luka's on the ball the entire game. Luka's like in a drenched sweat by the end. He can't do nothing.
So there's an 81-1 too. It's Chris Paul, Kevin Durant, Paul George, Charles Barkley, Wilt Chamberlain.
That's pretty good too.
Where's the one loss?
Charles is quickly becoming like underappreciated. I feel like
he really is.
I know he
was a
didn't
good
win a
player.
title, but he was tremendous.
The football version that maybe you would probably have to use analytics to do the football version because it would be really tough to.
Well, it'd be like because it would be 22 guys, right? It'd have to be 11.
Well, I think you would you'd probably do like quarterback, running back. You'd probably do like a fantasy lineup: quarterback, running back, 2 receivers, tight end, guard, interior, defensive lineman, edge, linebacker, corner, safety. I would put a kicker in there. I'm guessing whoever does it wouldn't.
No.
And then you would do like whoever you just collecting the best EPA.
I'm anti.
But there also there hasn't been a team that's gone 17-0. There's been a team that's gone 16-0.
I'm anti kicker in fantasy. That's my new thing.
We need to get you in the punter league.
No, we don't.
Yes, we do.
No,
we So for those who don't know, me and the CLNS guys did an all punter fantasy league a couple years ago. It was very fun.
You guys are diabolical.
We have to get you in the punter league.
People make so much fun of me for being a nerd here, and rightfully so. You guys, they don't know.
We're putting you in the punter league.
I'm like a stats and numbers nerd, maybe more than the rest of you, but just the dorkiness of the lot of you. I have to say, and look, we can't air it, and we're not recording it, so don't ask. But our conversations during practice are elite. Like we're like it's a fun time. Like we're going back and forth.
They should do us mic'd up in practice.
No, because we can't say half the things that we say in practice.
I can control myself when I'm on a microphone.
Yeah, but that's not organic. Then that's not the.
I don't know that it's like. I just have a tendency to swear when I'm not on a mic. That's pretty much it.
I have a tendency to swear when I am on a mic.
That's true. You're a little worse with it.
All right, let's get into my half-baked developing.
Somebody please make football 82-0 and let me know when it's up.
Well, it would be 19-0 or 20-0.
17, 18. You assume you get the bye, 17, 18, 20-0.
Yeah, at least. Well, I guess you could go 19-0, right?
Well, they're going to go to 18 games soon, so 21-0. No, you couldn't go 19-0.
No, you can't. You could go. It's 20 or 21.
In theory, you could go undefeated without the bye because you could have 2 teams in the same conference go undefeated. So 17 games plus 4, 21-0. It'll be 22-0 soon.
Okay, let's get back.
If you make 21-0, please let me know. I will share it.
It was not enough fun for everybody. And the other thing I get made fun of for Ace is I'm too much of a nerd and I hate fun. So I had that was like 3 minutes of unsequestered fun. You're welcome.
Well, I think you, the resident hoop head, should play 82-0. See if you can do better than I can.
This NBA Finals, it's not the hardest I've ever rooted against a team.
It's going to be fun.
But rooting against the Knicks is going to fuel my viewing of the NBA Finals. Although Wemby being a Frenchman has nothing to do with the French. I'm just a big USA basketball head, as you know.
You refuse to admit that the world is maybe caught up.
I am very, very concerned about the 2028 Summer Olympics and Victor Wembanyama dunking on like Chet Holmgren's head because we have no other centers. Not great. Okay, let's get into my developing takes on the Patriots through 2 OTA practices. So Alex and I were out there yesterday. We were out there last week, and then we'll be out there for the 3-day mini camp the following week. But there's only been 2 practices, and it's what did Dan Campbell call it? The pajama party?
Something like that,
which I loved. The one thing that he's ever said that I've actually really liked. The pajama party. So it's not real football quite yet, but I have some developing takes. Nothing too strong. Developing. So the first one, I said it last week, and I continue to be in the same mood with Romeo Doubs. I just like the way he looks. I think he's got the body type. I think he's got the hands, the strength. He's like a sturdy receiver. He plays strong. I would call him that prototypical power slot, right? He's not the quick twitch jitterbug slot, but he's that Chris Godwin, Jacoby Myers, somewhere in the middle, probably power slot. I know Greg Bedard took a lot of heat for saying he was underwhelmed and compared him to Jacoby Myers, but I think comparing him to Jacoby Myers is a compliment. Like if he ends up being Jacoby Myers, maybe more like Raiders, Jaguars, Jacoby Myers. I think he maybe hit 1,000 yards at one point at that point in time. That's fine with me, but that power slot, I like what I see out of him. That being said, really early on in the chemistry process, I think with him and Drake May, they got a ways to go before they understand where each other's at on the field, because he is going to be a little bit more,
it's more timing based routes and things like that.
And like at the catch point and boxing guys out, like he's not going to be Diggs, who is just getting, a lot of separation at the top of the route and making it pretty clear picture wise. What have been your first impressions of Romeo Doubs?
Yeah, kind of same. I'm a little maybe more optimistic about where their chemistry is at. Now, they have room to go for the season, but I think for where they're at as they start installing the offense. But same thing. I always said I thought Green Bay used him too much vertically. I liked him underneath, and I've really liked, for the very, very, very brief looks we've gotten, the usage that he's had so far.
Yeah, I think that he's going to fit in well in that role once they get really rolling with him and Drake May. Second thing on the wide receivers. I always take the cheese this time of year. I'm trying to learn from my mistakes. I'm trying not to do Taekwon again. I'm trying not to overrate the pajama party, overrate the glorified 7-on-7 passing camps. But calling a spade, just what we've seen on the field, I think Pop Douglas and Efton Chisholm have popped in both practices, no pun intended. I think they've both been active. They've been targeted a lot. They've been open a lot. Pop had a really nice day yesterday. Ran 2 really good routes where he just kind of really shook the defenders at the top of the route. Brandon Crossley, I think he broke his ankles on that juke after the catch. So this is their time of year to shine. It is the pajama party. There is no contact. There's no threat of the safety coming down. There's not a lot of contact at the line of scrimmage. But I think both those guys pop more with the ones. Efton Chisholm's been Tommy DeVito's guy with the 2s. Have both acclimated themselves really well this early part of the process. When am I allowed to believe, Alex? Because I'm trying not to fall for the banana in the tailpipe again. But if I'm just saying what I'm seeing out of this practice, I'm seeing number 3, Pop Douglas from Drake May, a lot at these 2 sessions.
When the pads come on. Look, credit where credit's due. Pop Douglas with Kayshon Boutte not being there. Matt Collins missed today. A.J. Brown wasn't here right away, and he's still easing in. Like, Pop Douglas had some awesome opportunities this spring.
Yeah.
And he's run with it. He's made the most of it. And we talked about chemistry. The big knock last year was that Drake May and Pop Douglas never got on the same page. I think their chemistry looks really improved. This summer. But it's passing camp. It's non-padded. It caters to those smaller, shifty, quick wide receivers.
Absolutely.
It's a setting built up for him to succeed. The rubber's going to meet the road when the pads come on in August. Yeah. But that being said, that doesn't mean he should just sit back and do nothing. He's doing as much as you could ask him to do at this point, which is good, which is what you want to see. And the fact that him and Drake's chemistry is better is great. I'm just not going to make any grand proclamations about it until we get to the padded practices.
So the other difficult part to me with both these guys, I thought they had good camps last year too in pads. So
yeah,
I remember writing at the end of the season, I talked to Julian Edelman, I talked to some of the guys that had worked in that McDaniel slot role and, what those guys could do in that. And we talked a lot about Diggs potentially being like the real guy there, but we also talked about Pop and Efton Chisholm potentially doing that as well. And that was right at the end of training camp. I wrote that piece at the end of August, and it just didn't come to fruition for Douglas in the season the way we thought it would. There's some murmurs. I mentioned the Jory Epstein piece earlier of Drake May preferring throwing to bigger guys.
Yeah.
The Romeo Dobbses, the A.J. Browns, Eli Raridon, who we'll get to in a second. I get that. So I guess I'm just hesitant to believe, because I don't want to do Taekwon again and fall for it again, but this is what's happening. This is what we're seeing out of these practices. Now yesterday Pop was running what they call a 2-lane route, which is like a little 6-yard option, right? So you get to the top of the route at 6 yards, and then you have an inside out option, and he kind of bent it inside, and Drake put it a little bit too far in front of him, and he couldn't make the catch. And those are those little flashes of, if that's 6'2" Romeo Doubs running that route, maybe it's not exactly on time where they're catching and running into the football, but is it caught? Is it a catch going down to the ground that he at least brings in for a 6-7 yard gain. Whereas with Pop Douglas, that ends up being off his hand, if you want to call it a drop, because he just doesn't have that catch radius. But there's times where he just shakes guys at the top of the route that we were talking about earlier. It's just an element that other guys can't bring to the table. Right. And he does it consistently. And with Chisholm, is Chisholm the one question, just to further this point? I thought the same thing with Chisholm last summer. He's kind of stuck in the middle. Like he's the classic baseball 4A player where he's too good for the 2s, but he might not be quite good enough for the 1s. And he's right in the middle of that. Is he a guy? Is he not a guy? But every single time they get out there and they get between the lines in these practices, Efton Chisholm's showing up. Now, it might be backups on backups. He might be balls from Tommy DeVito and not Drake May. But yesterday, he kind of went on a run where he had like 3 catches in the span of 4 or 5 throws and was sort of eating there in the slot, if you will. So 2 guys that have done what they can. Whether you believe in them and their role and all that stuff is...
We can only say we've seen so far. And so far, they've done well. I'm just not willing to project forward on it.
Okay, so back to some of the new additions and the veterans. Reggie Gilliam. I really like how Reggie Gilliam moves. I really like his gait. He's got like longer strides. So he can open up his strides. When you think of traditional fullbacks like a James Devlin or a Jakob Johnson, like they're short striders because they're usually small, short, compact, like stout kind of guys. You mentioned Brock Lampy's measurements earlier. Was it 6 feet 250?
Yeah.
Reggie Gilliam's got a little bit more tight end to him than those guys did. Watching him run seams, even on routes against air, I don't see a whole lot of difference between a tight end running that route and Reggie Gilliam. Maybe body control a little bit, but just in terms of the stride length and the speed, the Patriots, obviously it's a passing camp, so they're not going to put 21 personnel under center and run the ball down the defense's throat when there's no pads on. But so they moved Gilliam around a little bit. Yesterday, he was the one guy in the backfield a couple times, maybe as like a pseudo personal protector and leak him out into the flats. He was flexed out a few times out wide and some empty stuff. Classic McDaniels inverting the formation with the big guys outside and the receivers on the inside. Just feels like there's some Kyle Juszczyk-ness where it's like a little bit more than that battering ram fullback where they can move him around and maybe have some fun with him in the passing game.
Yeah, he talked about that. I don't think it was his introductory press conference, but at some point we talked to him about thinking that he's more untapped as a ball carrier, as a pass catcher. He was a running back in college. He didn't move to fullback until he was already in college. So, yeah, he moves well. Drake seems to like throwing the ball to him, and I do think we are going to. I don't think we're going to see it. He's an upgrade certainly over Jack Westover, but I don't think we're going to see him used just the way James Devlin and Jakob Johnson were used. I think there's going to be more to it. If you remember going back, at the end of, it was like going to the pandemic, McDaniels was trying to make the H-back, I think. Remember Dan Vitale was here?
Yes, I do.
And they had another guy who was that mold. I don't remember who it was, but they spent a couple years, the tail end of McDaniels' last tenure, trying to make the H-back work, and it just, injuries and a bunch of, it just never, Dalton Keene, they drafted Dalton Keene.
Yep.
It just never kind of worked out. And I don't think Gilliam's a full H-back either. He's a good player. I think he can do the James Devlin, Jakob Johnson stuff. I just think they're going to try to add to that role rather than change that role.
Yeah, it's just exciting to see a fullback, not only because of his athleticism as a receiver, but also thinking about his athleticism as a blocker, like how that can translate to him being a little bit more out in space and on the move as a lead blocker. So it's not just so much, I love fullback lead or ISO or whatever you want to call it as much as the next guy.
You told Mike Vrabel it was your favorite play.
I told him power is my favorite play,
sorry.
but you could do 2-back power technically with.
Well, didn't he say like, if we're going to do that, we need to get a fullback?
He might have.
That was the whole, I wrote that up. He definitely said that.
He might have said that. And, back on backer, right? The fullback goes through the A or B gap right up to the linebacker, and we have a car crash right there. And I love that just as much as the next guy. But when you have a fullback that can do some things in space and get to some different angles and different levels of the defense, that just kind of expands what you can do with a guy like that. And you saw the Bills do that a little bit with Reggie Gilliam last year. So exciting to see that. Excited to see some of the formations at McDaniels, the inverted formations I was talking about.
Yeah.
That's classic McDaniels. Undress the defense, put the fullback out there. If he's matched by a corner, it's most likely some sort of zone coverage. If he's matched by a linebacker, it's most likely man-to-man. It's just these little coverage tells and indicators that they can give the quarterback. Reggie Gilliam, I am going to continue to bang the table that guy's going to be a big impact player for him. Excited to see more of him. Last one on offense, then we'll move over to the defense. Eli Raridon. I don't want to use the word underwhelmed because it's a rookie and not early, way too early for that word. Yesterday was the first day, though, that I felt like I really saw a flash. He caught that pass from Tommy DeVito, a crossing route. DeVito stepped through the middle of the pocket. Really nice throw by DeVito.
DeVito had a nice day yesterday.
Yeah, he kind of did the Drake May through the third window, where he sort of 3/4 arm release while he's stepping through the pocket. Raridon pulled away from the safety. I'm sorry, I don't remember who the safety was that was covering him.
Was it Pettis?
I wanted to say Pettis, but I was
Pettis.
So first time had some trouble catching the ball at times. Yesterday he had one bobble and one drop. I think he had a drop in the first practice as well. Some rookie growing pains there for Raridon, and this is one thing that I was big on when they drafted him, and going back to the Julian Hill injury. It's a lot to ask of young tight ends to play a lot right out of the gate in the NFL. Situationally, it's one thing. Like if they think he's going to be a pretty good pass catcher, as they probably should based off his skill set, okay, you want to play him in certain packages, certain third down looks, things like that, fine. But asking a tight end as a rookie that was, especially one drafted in the third round, we're not talking about Tyler Warren here,
right?
To then go in and play 45% of the snaps is a big undertaking. I wouldn't use the word underwhelmed. I just have not been blown away yet by Eli Raridon to the point where I feel like this is going to be a rookie impact type of player. What have been your first impressions of him?
Well, we didn't really see him in the first OTA. He seemed kind of buried on the depth chart. So
maybe that's part of it. Maybe
yesterday was the first real look at him, which it's good he's moving. And outside of the Hill injury, like we saw Westover more than him in the first one. We saw him more than Westover yesterday. So yeah, I just haven't seen a lot really.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say I'm underwhelmed. I just need to see more.
Yeah, I hope that there's I hope the dropsies that he's having a little bit that I've seen, like some double catches and things like that. Maybe that's just comfort level, with the offense, and he's not totally sure out there, and so he's having a little bit of those inconsistencies. So I'd like to see a little bit more out of him. Let's moving over to the defense. My biggest concern, and I wanted to talk a little bit more about a guy we mentioned earlier in the show as well. The edge position right now to me is the clear, glaring potential Achilles heel of this football team. Are they going to have enough health and pass rush off the edge? Yeah. I haven't gotten the chance to ask the question. There's been other questions to be asked. Obviously, Vrabel's had some stuff going on. Christian Gonzalez's contract, AJ Brown trade. Nobody has asked Vrabel yet what the heck is going on with Gabe Backus, which I think is easily one of the biggest stories now that the other things have kind of settled down a little bit.
Gonzalez's contract, but
it's not the biggest, but I would say it's the second biggest, because this is a guy that you drafted in the second round that we all really, really liked, and I still really, really like the player and the skill set. But that was the one guy that had some path to play this year, and you kind of needed him to hit.
Right.
And you needed him to play. We did not see him at rookie minicamp. He has not been at either OTA practice so far. There's no indication that he's going to be out there next week at minicamp. I can sort of guess at what's going on, and there's two theories, but I don't want to guess. I would like to know. And no one's asked the question yet, so hopefully we get that answer next week from Mike Vrabel. Is it second-round pick contract negotiation? Is it the hamstring that had popped up for him in the pre-draft process? Is it something else? Like, why is Gabe Backus not on the field? Because it's a valuable time. It's a valuable time for a rookie player to be out there right now, and getting behind the eight ball as a rookie is never a good thing. It's really hard to get on the moving train once you're behind. So Gabe Backus' health, Harold Landry's health, I guess you could put that in there too.
I mean, I think, the two of them, they don't have a lot of depth on the edge right now, and it falls off pretty quickly. Draymond Jones, a fine complementary player. Elijah Ponder, popped a little bit as a UDFA last year, but that was in like 200 snaps, and then it really falls off. So they need one of Landry or Akis to be an impact player this year. Ideally, both. But they really, they kind of can't get by without one of those guys, on the edge anyway, without one of those guys being an impact player. Landry technically could be missing because he's a veteran. We'll find out more next week. But like that's somebody coming off an injury we know was rehabbing as recently as March. And then, Akis had the hamstring before the draft. He missed the combine. So we don't know for sure. But again, you can put 2 and 2 together. Even when Travion Henderson had the contract issues last year, because Akis still isn't signed. But even when Travion Henderson had the contract issues last year, he still took part in all of this.
I mean, Caleb Lomu hasn't signed and he's taking part in all of this.
So
this to me,
it's concerning.
I hate to speculate. This to me feels more injury related than contract related.
Yes.
The hope is that it's this hamstring, because hamstrings, even though they linger, it's not like something structurally wrong with him. Like he just has a bum hamstring and it will get better over time. But who knows what's going on there? But Akis was a big part of this puzzle. He was a guy that you got a little bit later, in the draft than like a true day one impact player usually goes. But it was because of the depth of the class at the position that in other years, if it's not health related, that is Gabe Akis a top 40 pick based off of just depth in the edge class. He gets pushed down. Like you thought this guy was going to come in and maybe be a day one starter on your defensive line, and he's just not out there. He hasn't been out there all spring. So I think that's really massive. We mentioned Kayvon Thibodeau. Is it Thibodeau?
Thibodeau.
Earlier on in the show. I watched some of his pressures today. I really like how he plays. I think he plays the way the Patriots want their edge guys to play. 6'4", 255, fits that mold exactly of what they typically go for. Has a motor to him, converts speed to power, has a nice like swipe rip move that he can use as a finisher. He can reduce inside a little bit if you want to do that with him. I haven't watched a ton of his run defense tape yet. I will, but his run defense grades are all really, really good.
Yeah.
He looks like the type of guy that they would target. The hold up to me with him is that he's playing this year on his 5th year option.
Yeah.
So he's not cheap. He's a $14.7 million player.
Fair. And they've spent a lot of money this offseason.
That's my point. It's like, this isn't, if he was on the 4th year of his rookie contract and we were still in that before the money kicks in period, then I'd feel a little bit differently. But he is on his 5th year this season. He's going to be a free agent at the end of the season or next off season. So he's one more year left on the deal.
I know when like budgeting it in, this doesn't apply because it's not one versus the other. But Steelers just paid Nick Herbig $25 million a year.
Yeah.
If Herbig's getting $25 million, isn't Thibodeau at 14 like great value?
It's not so much that I'm concerned about the value.
I know, it's the total money.
It's like how much more money can we realistically expect them to sink into the roster?
I guess. You have to have edge rushers, though, and they just might not have the bodies.
Yeah, and so then I also saw that Jordan Renan, who's like the Mike Reese of the Giants, works for ESPN. He said earlier on in the offseason they were looking for a 2nd-round pick.
Yeah, well,
that
the Eagles,
seems pretty rich.
The Eagles were looking for a first and a second for A.J. Brown.
But
it's nice to want
a
things.
2nd-round pick, if that's what it is,
no,
then it's
no. But
no.
Again, I go back to, I'm going to read you the Giants wide receiver depth chart real quick.
So you want to include Kayshon Boutte in the deal and try to use that as sweetener.
Here's Giants wide receiver depth chart. Malik Neighbors, very good player, but
bum knee.
You see him running the other day? Running?
Yes.
Didn't look good. Malik Neighbors, Darius Slayton's fine. Calvin Austin, Malachi Fields, Darnell Mooney. Now we start getting silly. Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yes, who they just signed off the street.
Odell Beckham. Isaiah Hodgins, Braxton Berrios, Jalen Hyatt, Bo Collins, Xavier Gibson, Ryan Miller, Dalen Cambry. I don't even know who that last guy is. So, I don't know, Evan. You tell me if this is a team that is desperate at receiver. In the same day,
they signed 3.
They signed 29-year-old Juju Smith-Schuster, 30-year-old Braxton Berrios, 33-year-old Odell Beckham. That trio in 2025 combined for 39 catches for 382 yards. Kayshon Boutte alone had 6 fewer catches and 200 more yards.
Yeah.
So, like Boutte, and for what it's worth, ESPN did a piece with their insiders on like hypothetical trades. And we know these guys, they're coming up with ideas, but they know a thing or two. They're informed, right?
Yeah.
So they had 4 hypothetical trades for Kayvon Thibodeau. Jeremy Fowler, had the Saints giving up a third, which is a lot. Dan Graziano had the Patriots giving up a fifth. These are all 2027 picks. Kansas City, Ben Solak had them giving up a 27 fourth, and the Rams are on here, but that's not going to happen now.
Right.
Probably. I guess we shouldn't count the Rams out.
So we're talking about a middle round pick, somewhere between the third and the fourth round, I would say.
Right. Does Kayshon Boutte in a fifth get it done? Because none of these include players. And this was put out a week ago, May 27th. Does Kayshon Boutte in a fifth get? If you're the Giants, and it's a fourth, or Kayshon Boutte in a fifth, which deal would you rather do?
If you're the Giants,
yeah. If the two best options you have on the table are a fourth or Kayshon Boutte in a fifth,
probably. I don't know. Probably Kayshon Boutte in the fifth.
If it's a third or Kayshon Boutte in a fifth,
the third.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
So if there's no day 2 pick on the table, and Jeremy Fowler had floated that the Patriots were a sleeper for Thibodeau.
Yep.
And if somebody offers a third, fine, so be it. I don't think he's worth a third. I think he's worth less than that.
So Jalen Phillips went for a third, right?
Right.
But I was at the trade deadline.
I was going to say, if he's worth a third, I'd rather trade the third for Josh Sweat than Kayvon Thibodeau.
If you can get Josh Sweat for a third.
I think it's probably, if that's what
He's
Phillips is
player.
worth, that's what Sweat's worth.
Sweat's a better player than both those guys, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, with Thibodeau, I just like, I think he plays the position the way they want him to be played. I also thought he was pretty productive on some of the stunt schemes and stuff like that they asked him to do. Like all these different things, like Patriots stunt a lot. He's a 4-3 end by nature, plays more with his hand in the dirt. He's a guy that, can move around a little bit, but he's got a good motor to him. He's got good power. Like these are all Patriot boxes that we're checking here.
And by the way, just to add on top of that, Shane Bowen was his DC, is now here on the coaching staff, and Ryan Cowden was there with him.
So the one element of the trade is not necessarily the play style and the player I like, although to go back to the under the hood nerd numbers, they dropped off a little bit for him last year. He only had about 11% pressure rate last year, which was like 50th in the NFL amongst edge rushers.
So this is the other thing with Kayvon Thibodeau. His production, he had 11.5 sacks 2 years ago. That dropped to 5.5 2 years ago, and then 2.5 last year.
So the question is, it's sort of similar to the A.J. Brown thing where can the Giants realistically take Abdul Carter, Brian Burns, Arvell Reese, and Kayvon Thibodeau all to camp and keep all 4 of those guys happy?
I mean, they could.
I mean, I know Arvell Reese is really thought of as more of like a hybrid, like off ball.
He's an edge rusher.
Edge rusher, but I think that they want him to play edge. Brian Burns probably isn't there long term, but he's at least there for this year.
Yeah.
So Kayvon Thibodeau at best is the 3.5. If you want it, whatever you want to call Reese, maybe the 4th guy.
It's also similar to Kayshon Boutte's situation. He's on an expiring contract.
Yeah,
They used their first-round pick on edge rushers each of the last 2 years.
Right.
Are you going to do that
and they
pay Thibodeau?
paid and trade for Brian Burns.
Right. So are you going to do all that and pay Thibodeau?
Right. So the only element of the trade I don't like from a Patriots perspective is that he's expensive. Like a $14.7 million fully guaranteed 5th year.
Yeah.
And then he's a free agent. So it's not my money, so I don't necessarily care.
Right.
But in terms of talking about it realistically, after the investment that they just made in AJ Brown, can they budget giving Christian Gonzalez a contract extension, trading for AJ Brown, trading for Kayvon Thibodeau, doing all of this all right now? It would be a lot, and kudos to them if they do it, but it would be a lot.
I mean, if they do it, and not that Thibodeau's such an unbelievable player, but in terms of just what he does for what their biggest weakness is, I'll go back to where we started the show. Add Kayvon Thibodeau to this roster. Are they the best team in the AFC?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't really think they have
There's
many
not much
holes.
question about that.
Yeah, so, Draymond Jones on one side, Thibodeau on the other. You hope that Gabe
Whatever
Akis
you get from
gets
Landry
healthy.
or Akis, if you can get like 70% from one of those guys, your third guy, now you have...
You're cooking.
Ponder back as your 4th guy.
Right.
And that would be... And the sell to Thibodeau is easy. Like, could he come here? If he came here, I think he could have a better version of the season Caleb Chason had.
Or at least similar, and is a more thought of player, right? Like as a guy that had production earlier before the Giants got crowded on the defensive front. If he comes in here and he has 8 sacks and 40, 50 pressures on a contract year, you're looking at somebody that's probably going to get paid on a second contract. And Chason wasn't
probably going to get $20 million something.
Yeah, Chason wasn't thought of that way in the league anymore.
He was also a former first-round pick, but
he didn't have the takeoff that Thibodeau did. All right, so that's edge rusher. I really would like to know the answer to the Gabe Akers thing. Might have to ask it myself, Alex.
I was going to say, you have the access.
I do have the ability. Okay, Corey Durden gave quite the press conference, I would say, yesterday, where he sounded pretty confident in Corey Durden. He sounded like he was ready to go. Said his goal was to make the Pro Bowl. He had some lofty conversations up at the podium yesterday. Are you buying or selling a year, whatever leap this is for Corey Durden, and how confident are you right now in Corey Durden?
I like what I saw from him
because he's the third guy. It's him, Barmore, Milton Williams.
I mean, look, we didn't expect much from Tonga last year, and look what he became. Yeah. Now I don't know that Durden has the anchor that Tonga did.
He's not the gap plugger.
I think
space eater.
He can give you he can give you what Tonga gave you in the pass game.
Yeah.
And he can be somebody that can play on those intermediate downs because he's not a liability against the run by any means.
Right.
But I don't think he's that true gap eater that Tonga is.
No, Tonga's wider and bigger. He's
I think he can be a good, useful player.
Yeah.
But I don't know that he's going to fully replace Tonga. That's where you look at one of these other nose tackles to step up. I still like...
NT1, I think you referred to himself.
I still like Travis Shaw. I'm intrigued by... Did we talk about Travis Shaw at all?
I don't think so.
Do you know who Travis Shaw is?
I know now.
I'm making sure.
The baseball player?
Yeah, former Red Sox, mayor of Ding Dong City.
Yeah.
I'm always interested in these guys. Travis Shaw, coming out of high school in North Carolina, 5-star recruit, 98 rating. That's out of 100, but they'll give guys like 102, 103 sometimes. 98 rating by 24/7. He was the 12th ranked recruit in the country. He was the 5th ranked defensive lineman behind Walter Nolan, Michael Williams, Shamar Stewart. I actually don't know who this other guy is. Gabriel Brownlow Dindy. He must still be in college. Yeah, he's at South Carolina. But was like a legit recruit. I sort of remember him being a big deal when he committed to UNC. He was a big time recruit for them. Didn't pan out, dealt with some injuries, went to Texas last year, finally played a little bit more. It's that, hey, there's something that wasn't tapped into here. And was it the situation or is there something else preventing it? But those guys intrigue me. He has the size. It's a position of need. He is somebody I will be watching at training camp.
Okay. So on Corey Durden, I really like him as a true shade, like a one tech in the A gap. He's not the space eater that Tonga is. He's not the wide body that Tonga is, but I like the player. He was that press conference yesterday. I was like, okay, let's slow down maybe a little bit. Vince Wilfork, but the player in general, we'll see. But I'm with you. Whether it's one of these guys like Travis Shaw, Lenny T got his hands on a couple passes yesterday. Yeah. Leonard Taylor, him stepping up. Joshua Farmer maybe having a year or two leap, if you want to call it that. They need some semblance of depth there behind Barmore and Williams. I think Durden is going to be Tonga. He's going to play those snaps that Tonga left behind. But behind that, I'm looking to see some of those guys pop. He did not practice yesterday, and I do think that he might have left the practice that we were at last week early. But just moving on from the defensive line, KJ Britt feels like a pretty big X factor to me depth-wise on this defense. I liked what I saw in the first practice. He got his hands on one pass, but broke up a pass to Raridan, I think it was, coming over the middle of the field. But he's that Jack Gibbons third linebacker that in a pinch is going to play if Robert Spillane or Christian Ellis is hurt, play on special teams. It's a sneaky, important role from a depth standpoint, and at least he didn't practice yesterday, so I can't say that I have seen a ton. But the first practice, I was like, okay, this guy, passes the eye test for me in that spot. Yeah, more athletic, I would say, than Gibbons. He feels like the favorite from that next group to get that other spot. Yeah, yesterday it was Chad Muma a lot that was stepping up. Without him, maybe Muma's the fourth guy. But, you move on. I think Muma's going to make the team for special teams. So you're looking at the guys who are going to be here first. Yeah, because you move on from Gibbons, Tavai, and Marte Mapu. Yeah. So you basically gutted your depth at linebacker, and you're looking for guys like KJ Britt, Muma, those types of players. Speaking of moving on from Mapu real quick, did you see who was getting the personal protector snaps yesterday in the punt team? The next guy, I think, on this list.
There were a couple.
Well, one of them was Mike Brown.
One of them was Mike Brown.
Yes.
I bring this up because it's a good way to kind of tell who might make the team.
Yeah.
It was Mike Brown, it was Brock Lampy, and it was Peter Manuma.
So Mike Brown is the next and last one on my list here. Perfect timing. Really making a push to me early in the spring. It's early, I get that, but playing a lot as the third safety, playing a lot of different roles on special teams. Maybe in a direct competition right now, it feels like with Del Pettis to be like the true third safety, but he's a little bit bigger than Del Pettis is and like can be a little bit more of that natural big nickel spot if they do want to play him in 3 safety packages with Byard and with Craig Woodson. Mike Brown has caught my eye a couple of times. I like his size. He covers pretty well for a safety, plays on special teams. This is a guy that I didn't know a whole lot about going into it, admittedly. I wasn't sure if he was going to make the roster or not. Now I kind of feel like he's pushing pretty hard to make the team. We'll see how it ends up in August. But as of today, I would probably have Mike Brown on a 53-man roster projection.
I would have him on. I wonder if the path for him is kind of similar to Jalen Hawkins, a guy that played some defense but was mostly a special teams player, comes here, wins his way onto the roster with special teams, and then ends up growing into a bigger defensive role as things go on.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's more than fair. So those are my developing thoughts on the team. The last one that I didn't really I wrote it down initially and I crossed it off because it's really not a great thought or take. But just the third running back thing just feels like we're not going to know until the pads come on.
I feel like it's been a lot of Lampy.
The third running back? Larison, you mean?
Larison, yeah.
But like yesterday, we saw Montgomery a little bit for a second. We saw Terrell Jennings for a second. We saw mostly Land Larison. I'd say is taking the bulk of it.
Yeah.
But I just don't feel like that's. I feel like we're too far away from deciding that.
It kind of it's true. It kind of goes hand in hand with like linemen, and you got to see the pads on to really know.
Yeah, even preseason. Like if there's one thing, the preseason games because you're tackling to the ground in the preseason games.
Well, remember
the
preseason. It's usually the guy that gets the bulk that isn't making the team.
Yeah, that's
because
true.
they're not worried about that guy getting too beat up.
Yeah, that's fair.
Shout out Ralph Webb.
All right, we have 5 more minutes. I'll read off a couple of emails that are on the shorter side. So this one was a small dig at me. He wants to take. He said I spent too much time around Bills fans at Ithaca, and he told me to swap the Labatt's for Narragansett. Right, that's how you say it.
Yeah.
So you also went to Ithaca. So
I also went to Ithaca, and that's part of why because I had to spend time with Bills fans.
So maybe you had the opposite effect.
But we spent time with the same people.
That's for some of it. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But my infatuation with the Bills is not the Bills.
No, it's really just
the quarterback.
Josh Allen.
Yeah, I just respect the quarterback.
I cannot wait until he goes to Los Angeles.
This email is from David in Bethlehem. He emailed in and said about his wife's birthday. So my lovely wife's birthday is February 13th.
Yeah.
Which is a double whammy because obviously Valentine's Day is the 14th. This year, the Super Bowl is on Valentine's Day. So, first world problem, admittedly, world's smallest violin. But let's play it out. The Patriots just got A.J. Brown. We're on a high right now. If the Patriots make the Super Bowl, that means that I'm going to spend the entire week in Los Angeles when Jess's birthday is on February 13th, the day before the Super Bowl.
You might have to fly her out.
So I told her. I was like, this is, my adopted city. It's your birthday. Maybe they're in the Super Bowl. We're getting way ahead of ourselves, but maybe they are. Like, feels like you need to come. Like,
what you could do is plan there's no way Jess listens to the show. I don't want to ruin a surprise. Plan like a birthday, Valentine's Day weekend trip to Los Angeles. And then that's already booked. And then, I have to be there anyway for work.
I gotta work your whole
dinner
birthday
Saturday
weekend.
night at a nice restaurant. You don't have to work till Sunday anyway, right? That kind of thing.
That's fair.
Maybe
that's fair. I would have pretty much all day Saturday. We went to Alcatraz in San Francisco on Saturday before the game.
We had the Sports Hub broadcast.
Yeah, so we did have some fun on the Saturday before the Super Bowl. So maybe we can dodge that. I'm not going to read the whole email from David about his wife's 40th birthday. It sounded like it was a bad time, but that was that one. There's one more I wanted to get to now. This one, since someone picked on me about the Bills, I'm going to pick on you a little bit, and we'll end on this one. So this is from Darius in Louisville, And he says that he loves listening to you specifically, Alex,
Yeah.
and he listens to you on all your podcasts. But he says that, he does hear you give some of the same takes on multiple
try
shows.
to change it up.
I tell you, the reason why I brought this up is not to pick on you. It was actually because I bring this up to you all the time, that I have no idea how you do like 10 different podcasts and keep it fresh.
I try to
could
change
not
it
do
up. This time of year is probably harder than like in season in that regard. But it's different hosts. So I kind of lean on the host to put me in different spots. You, Brian Hines, Matt Dolliff's our own battle.
4 shows.
5 if you count the one with David Andrews. But that's just really me. I'm not giving takes on that.
And that's also in season, right?
Yeah,
Just
it's only in season. And then the callers and emailers asking and commenters asking different questions, things like that. So I try to change it up the best I can. Big picture things are obviously going to be the same, but I do try, and even if it is the same take, to try to change the presentation. The real thing is, like, if you listen, like, if news happens,
He put
right?
some thought into this, Ace.
This is my day-to-day.
Yeah.
If you listen to the first show, you kind of, whatever it is, and it's different every week depending on when news happens, like, you'll get things coming out in real time. But if you listen to the last one I do, like, you hear the take fully flushed out, and there could be something where, like, during the season, we do this show on Thursday sometimes.
Yeah.
And you'll say something. So I'll have done a show earlier in the week, then I do this. Then you maybe say something I haven't thought of, and then I bring it to Brian, and me and Brian talk about it on Patriots Beat, or something like that.
So you steal my takes, is what you're
I
saying.
just make it one long show.
We got to get a super comp of all your takes on all your shows.
It's
sum them up into
it's
one
somebody
show
referred
a week.
Somebody referred to it once between like you, Dolph, Brian, Cadlick as the Alex Barth cinematic universe.
Yeah, it's
it definitely
it's unbelievable.
is taking that multiverse kind of.
No, that he's no ego whatsoever with that comparison.
I didn't come up with it.
We have 2 shows that I'm very fortunate to be a part of here in Unfiltered in this show, and I feel like I repeat myself on those 2 shows. This guy has like 100. Like, imagine that. Like, it's just juggling a million of them. I feel like I'm saying the same things over and over again on just the 2 shows that I'm on. And I'm on the PU. It's me, it's Paul, it's Fred, it's Alex. Like, it's the whole crew. So
it's the question I get the most is, how do I avoid repeating myself across shows? And it's not easy, but I try my best. I guess I got to do better, but
No.
I try my best.
No. All right, we'll end it there. We're already over anyways. Next week, show announcement. Next week, we're going from 4 to 6 after Patriots' second day of minicamp, right? That'll be the second day. Minicamp's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So Catch-22 will be 4 to 6. It'll also be up on YouTube and Apple Podcasts and Spotify and all those other places if you're not able to listen live when the show is happening on Wednesday. But 4 to 6 on Wednesday to accommodate practice so that Alex and I can go watch practice, and then we'll talk about the 2 days that we've seen so far. PU's schedule tomorrow is at noon, same time as normal, 12 to 2. We'll update you guys tomorrow on PU about next week for that show as well, but just bear with us. There's a lot going on. There's mini camp next week with the team. Then there's obviously FIFA and the World Cup is around. So there's a lot to shuffle over the next couple of weeks, but we'll keep you guys updated. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Hey, this is Deuce. Thanks for tuning into the show. If you really want to help us, make sure you like us wherever you get your podcasts, like Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, make sure you follow us on the New England Patriots YouTube channel to see this show and everything else that we do here at the Patriots. Thanks a lot.